good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and thanks for stopping by. Welcome to RGV Aerial Photography's deep dive into images he captured this week around the shipyard and launch site in Boca Chica, Texas. Our dedicated team will guide you through with the latest updates and theories at Starbase, Texas. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe for future streams.
All right. Hey, everybody. This is Golden Boy. Welcome back to another episode of RGV aerial photos and his flyover reviews. And I'm going to go ahead and introduce Mauricio. I want to make sure that he's coming through. Mauricio, can you hear me?
Hey, yes, I'm coming through. Sorry about that.
You're doing good.
This is the second time that this happens to me.
Hey,
But
technical
yes,
difficulties all day, you know? It's been a long morning of preparing for the live stream. And just so everybody knows, we have a few other guests with us today. We've kind of, have a whole team space with us at all times. So you guys might see different people on here on different days. So today we have Mauricio, as always. We have me, Golden Boy. We have Thomas Sayo. Thomas, you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Thomas, fellow enthusiast for rockets, Starship, Boca Chica, Starbase, everything. I'm also a moderator and commentator for Lab Padre, and I'm glad to be here.
Awesome to have you. And I think a lot of people are really excited to see you. Thomas is, as he said, a commentator for Lab Padre as well. So I am as well, too. So I don't know if a lot of you guys knew that. We kind of just go around pretty much commentating wherever, you know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff to talk about. There's aerial stuff. There's live photos sometimes. There's the ground stuff. But before I continue on, I want to also introduce our second or fourth co-host. Sorry, that would be Indian Star. Indian Star, say hello.
Hello.
Oh, I didn't mean to make you just only say hello. I feel like I just gave you a one-worder right there.
Okay.
How you doing today, Indian Star?
Well, thank you. And you?
Oh, it's a good morning. It's Saturday. Don't have to work today, and Mauricio was able to get a flyover, and so that was really exciting. Mauricio, do you want to kind of talk about how that day went for you? I know we always start off talking about just the overall story, so I feel like that's just a good place as any to start. And while he's explaining to us, I have a little. I'm gonna play a little video that I took a screen recording the other day as Mauricio was doing his flyover. It was super windy out. The clouds were all over the place. And we kind of were following him in the air and knew where he was at. So we were hoping that the clouds were going to participate with us. So we're sitting there pretty much watching him. So Mauricio, you can kind of tell people what was going on as I play this. And just so everybody knows, this is footage from Lab Padre. So if you guys aren't supporting them, make sure you do. They're great channel with 8 different camera views. So this is one of my favorites, is Raptor Roost Cam. And we just recorded a little time lapse of what was going on as Mauricio was flying. How was it up there, Mauricio?
right. Before I go into this, is there any way you can minimize the screen just a little bit so we can see the Lab Padre logo? I think our little banner's covering up his logo there. But
I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do that without.
Oh, there we go. Right. So, first off, this was a very difficult flyover for me. It was hazy. The clouds were in and out, as you can see in that image there by Lab Padre. And you were following me. I was touching base with you guys, and if I would have shown up like 10 minutes after the fact over the site, we would have missed our opportunity. And it's been over 20 days since our last flyover, so this was really special for me. I really did want to do a flyover before this weekend and wanted to give you guys this content so that we can review these photos. But overall, I'm happy the way it turned out. A little hazy, but the important thing is we got the flyover photos, and I'm excited for next week. Hopefully, we get the full stack. I already scheduled my next flyover, so if you're not a patron, I suggest you do want to be a patron for this particular flyover photos. There might even be two. I'm still not sure if we get enough funds for the second flyover. But yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, man, I was excited that you were able to get it. I'm gonna back up a little bit. I was sitting in your Discord server, trying to figure out where you were, watching the actual tracking from the I forget what the app is called, Flight Radar or whatever. Yeah, and I kept seeing these gaps in the clouds, and I was like, I hope he sees it, and he turns and gets in that gap because actually before I stopped moving, or before the camera stopped moving, it was kind of looking to the right a little bit, and you could see the clouds as they were coming in. This is 10x speed right here, so they weren't actually moving this quickly. He wasn't in a fighter jet. It was just, little. Which plane are you flying in?
172.
172, yeah. So, pretty high up there and kind of having to dodge in and out of the clouds just so that we could be able to do this show on Saturday. So we really, really appreciate that, Mauricio.
Right, and just to reference, those clouds are about 2,000-3,000 feet. I was at 10,000 feet, so I don't think you would have been able to see me on that camera. But either way, it was pretty fun.
Yeah, I'm just grateful. If I go too long without seeing flyover images, I just start to get irritated, and I'm not as fun to be around. With that being said, I bet a bunch of people are really excited that we're finally going to be able to show some flyover images, because a lot of stuff has changed within the last 3 weeks. And kind of the way that we do with ground photos, we're going to start with basically the entrance to Starbase. So Thomas, do you want to kind of take this one away?
Sure, yeah. So we're looking at Sanchez, which is a former oil site. So they were doing fracking back in the 80s on this site, and it's pretty old, but it's named after Sanchez, which is the company. But now it's pretty much their new fuel production site for propellant. So you've got, I guess you could start from the bottom right and work your way up there. You're looking at the gasification plant in center of the screen here. So we're looking at all of the propellants that they really need for oxygen. That's about by volume 70% of their propellants. And you've got also the nitrogen that they pull out of the air. So you've got those tanks down there, which will probably be oxygen, nitrogen, and then the smallest one potentially would be argon, which would be the very small one on the far left. The nitrogen is used to cool down all their systems. Yeah. It's a plant to basically separate the atmosphere into its basic elements, so you can use it to the best of your ability. And it really is a useful system to do here, because otherwise they have to truck it in about 4 hours, it seems, for all of the locks.
Here's a quick question before we kind of continue on the little tour. If you need to fill up on liquid oxygen quickly, but you're already topped off on nitrogen, do you just swap these over? Do you think you just swap these over to one of them over to liquid oxygen and just start purging the nitrogen, or what?
So
I don't know enough about this system to.
So you reuse your cryogenics you don't need to cool down your other systems. So you can use your liquid oxygen to help cool down nitrogen. So you just reuse those parts of your process if you don't need it. So if you need oxygen, only oxygen, you throw away all the nitrogen by cooling down your systems with your liquid nitrogen. Your liquid oxygen to just get nitrogen, for instance. So you can select which ones you want for your commodities.
Interesting. Yeah, one of the things I've noticed in the ground pictures, which we're not going to show yet, both of these tanks are still labeled liquid nitrogen, which is a voice crack. Back to high school. That was awesome. I think I'm gonna grow a few more inches this year, and that's a good sign. Yeah, these two tanks are both labeled nitrogen, which kind of threw me off. I knew they were labeled nitrogen when they first arrived, and I kind of thought like, oh yeah, every tank is a nitrogen tank. I was kind of expecting them to remove them, but it looks like they're still labeled as nitrogen.
Yeah, the fuel farm is not, or this liquefaction plant is not quite yet certified. They did run some test cycles before with the other tanks that we had on site, and then they got moved over to the orbital launch pad. But by and large, it's still not in operation yet. It's ready to be in operation. It's just needs the final certifications, and part of that will be relabeling the tanks what you want them to be. So you
Right.
will have to relabel tanks. Every time you decide you want to change your operations, you need to relabel things. Otherwise, bad things happen.
Yeah. Well, luckily you can't do too much bad with this as far as like, oh, I accidentally put nitrogen in the LOX tank.
Yeah.
While
So right
unfortunate.
there, you've got the can crusher, my
Let's
one of
see
my
if I can get a
favorites.
better get closer on that one. It
We're
was a really
blocked on
hazy
that one.
day. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna keep going because there's see.
There we go. So yeah, to the right, you've got the can crusher. To the left of that, you've got the top hat on top of a which one is that? That section.
6 point. Wait.
It's going to be part of 6.1, but I think that is
Oh, this is a Starship.
yeah,
Half section,
23.
right?
Yeah, I think it's aft 23. So they're going to put that with some other pieces up at the top left of Sanchez, I believe, to make something like 6.1. And then they'll put it in the can crusher with the top hat. They'll basically crush that one like they did with 2.1. We'll get to that in a bit. But yeah, to the right, you can see some starships. We've got 16 at the bottom right here. Then it goes 15, and then you have Booster 5. Booster 5, they just removed, I think 2 hydraulic power units off of. So it's pretty much done. It's never going to be used, as far as I can tell. It's just now in the rocket garden.
So, Thomas, really quick, do you know
Perlite.
why? Do you know why? Do you know why they're back here?
they ordered too much. It's
No, they didn't order too much. They're hiding them.
no, they
You know
ordered
why?
too much because they need them later. But they're building a second fuel farm and all that later. But right now
You think so?
yeah.
Well, what I think is that the 2 methane tanks at the launch site don't have any perlite in them. And this is the perlite that was destined for those 2 tanks. This is like they're hiding this behind stuff because they don't want people to be. And I'm not hating on SpaceX, guys. I love SpaceX. I just think it's funny. Elon says that they wash their laundry in public. To me, this is public laundry right here, waiting to be processed at the laundromat. This is all the perlite that was destined for the 2 vertical methane GSE tanks. Was that 6 and 7 or 7 and 8? Yeah, they never put the perlite in it, but they still got it. So it's just sitting over here waiting for them to actually be able to put it inside those tanks. And until you see them put that in those tanks, you should not be expecting them to use them at all.
Yeah. They also have more at the suborbital fuel farm. They have the stuff pretty much everywhere.
Everywhere.
Spot. Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've got more concrete going in all over the place, so the site's getting better all over the place.
Yeah, you got. I mean, I have a saying that I can't say it here, but it's just I don't like dirt. There's a hashtag something dirt that I say every time I see them delete dirt. I like dirt. I just don't like it at Starbase, and the reason I don't is because of the way that it affects the just camera gear of everybody. I mean, having to go home and clean all your camera gear every day, like, I mean, truthfully, I didn't know about that it was that much of an issue until I was listening to Mauricio talk about it the other day, just discussing how often. Well, that was during your Twitter space, right, Mauricio, with all the photographers in there, just talking about how much cleaning you have to do on your lenses and all that stuff. Like I would be scared to go out to Starbase during the day while all that dust is in the air, and then try and do a flyover after that, just because of like potentially accumulating dust from the launch site on your camera gear before you go up in the air. Did we lose Mauricio? Is he still here?
No, I'm still here. I'm just waiting for you. I thought you were gonna say something else, but
Oh, go ahead.
no, that's pretty much it. I mean, you got to be careful with your gear out there. Real humid.
Well, and speaking of his gear, we do have a $5 super sticker from Leroy. Thank you, Leroy. We really appreciate it. And we also have a question if y'all are up for questions about the tanks that you're talking about, methane tanks.
We don't have methane tanks in front of us.
Well, we were just talking about them. That's why.
Oh,
at the orbital fuel farm.
I think it'd be best to potentially wait until we get over there. I mean, I'm kind of ready to pull that picture up, but I think that actually, you know what? Let's do it. What's the question?
Stephanie Ball asks, are the new methane tanks there somewhere around the production site?
Oh, we are still at Sanchez. So the new methane tanks, like Stephanie knows what we like to do. We try and stay in the area that we're talking about. So, we want to address all of your guys' questions, and we know that people like to get their questions answered as soon as they ask them. Especially with, well, not especially, everybody wants their questions answered. So, we want to actually get to all your guys' stuff. So if you're able to keep them to the area that we're talking about, then it makes it really easy for us. So we're not like skipping through other photos in order to show it. So Stephanie, thank you so much for keeping us on topic. I believe these are the two methane tanks that you're speaking of right here. Let's go ahead and view them from another angle, shall we? Lots to see in this image. Thomas, what else do you notice here other than these methane tanks that Stephanie's?
Well, I mean, I notice everything, but what specifically are you wanting to talk about?
Oh no, there's a lot.
We've got
Let's start
everything
from the most interesting to the least interesting.
Well, we could just talk about the methane tanks real quick. Those methane tanks are probably going to the orbital launch pad where they removed the berm. I call that area the super berm. Right there, you've got Grover. You're over your mouse, under your mouse there. That's pretty much was the first crane that they bought. They hadn't done too much with it for a while, and they pretty much use it for everything now.
Did you know this is like I don't think too many people know this, but do you remember a few seasons ago when everybody, I say seasons, I'm talking about NFL, everybody was doing the little dab dance? Grover actually was the one who created the dab dance. Little known fact. It's not even a dance, it's just a move. I think it's an emoji now too. What else do we have over here, Thomas?
Mark 1 or Mark 3 flap right there.
Oh, that's MK1 right there, I believe.
They had parts for 3 as well as 1, so it's always hard for me to figure out which one is which because they're the same on those.
Well, I'm pretty positive this is MK1 just because I've stood next to it before. I took a picture of it. I was trying to get Elon to auction it off, but he did not reply. Now that I think about it, I may at some point today go pin that back up to the top of my Twitter. If you guys want to retweet it, try and get Elon. I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's right here. All he has to do is put an auction up at the front entrance and just let us bid on it. You know what I mean? Like you're not going to use it.
I feel like there's a reason they haven't scrapped it.
Yeah, because they want to auction it.
Or just put some more awnings on buildings and structures to make it look really cool.
I agree. Even just having it as the entrance. Oh wow! What if they put it to the left and the right of the Starbase sign? So if they lay it, they rotate it up, and then this is on the right side of the sign, and then they put the other flap on the left side of the sign.
That would be pretty cool.
They won't do it.
So I also spot some rings up above that look like for a new launch table. So I remember you talked about some issues with transport table for boosters. Just to the left, those larger rings, those are for a new transport stand for boosters.
I think these are the 12.5 meter stands that they built the GSE shells on, actually.
They didn't have those. They don't have those anymore. They pulled all of that out.
You can kind of see this one's like a 9, and then this one's the larger diameter one right here. It does look like.
Yeah, that's all Starship stuff. I don't see anything from GSE tanks. They pulled all that out ages ago. So those are a bit newer. I remember looking at some older photos, and we didn't have these in there several weeks ago. And then just below that, you have one of my favorite pieces. it goes to the trapezoidal hexagon, which also was called like the Black Spider. It was a transport stand for boosters that they then decided not to use for boosters, and they used it for a jig. That's that little circle with a hexagon in the middle of it. Just to the
This one?
left. No,
Oh, to
just
the
to the
left.
left.
This one?
Yeah. Nope. Bottom left. There
Oh
you
yeah,
go.
for the can crusher.
Yeah, it's not a can crusher. It's for the nose cones. They do. It's a structural test stand for max Q testing, and you'll see that in Sanchez as well. That they basically have all of that stuff kind of just relegated off into the corner here. But yeah, they used a hydraulic press back when SN15 was the day before they were going to fly that. They were actually out there testing that, and I could see them buckling the nose cone, which was SN12s at the time. It was fantastic to see. Nobody else really saw it or heard it, but I did with Grandpa Joe and a few others.
I wonder if I can open up this image without. Let's see. Just want to show the older stands compared to the new ones. I think you're probably right, Thomas. Let's see. Let's go ahead and swap views.
So the normal transport stands for booster has 12 feet. This one shows 6 at the moment. But
so this is an older image right here, just looking at the rings that they used to build the tank sleeves, and they're missing the things that are, so they're stacked up, but I don't think it's the same. I think you're right. I don't think they're the same as the other ones that we're looking at. So let's swap back. You can kind of see that these ones have the
feet area
that's
for
weird.
for bracing
Why?
for piping, and
1, 2, 3, 4.
the one to the left looks like it's the top ring. But or it could be just the 2 pieces stacked together. In the middle, you've got a hexagon. That's a load spreader.
Oh wow, you're right. This is a booster transport stand. I see it now because you put your your. I see what you're saying.
And we've got 3 of them, and they're all being used. As Booster 5 and Booster 4 currently using their transport stands, and
Hey,
we
let's look at
have
the other one.
Booster 7 coming along.
There's also an older picture from January 15th that shows that those rings weren't built yet.
Of course, we can't see it now, but I think the we're seeing 1, 2, 3, the basically how they mount the upper supports, but I don't know. There's a few less of them down there, but you might be right.
It's about the right dimensions for it, so they're not done with it. Obviously, you have to add more stuff to it to get to the point where it's a booster transport stand.
Here's oh man, I thought I was gonna be able to see it from the same view. I wish I could see that transport stand, the ship and the booster transport stand next to each other, just so I could see it for myself, like how much bigger. Obviously, the booster one is going to be a lot bigger because the clamps extend into the middle. So that that makes a ton of sense. Yeah, well, one thing we were talking about that was a limitation for them stacking Booster 7 is the fact that they only have 1 transport stand or 2 transport stands right now. And currently Booster 5 is sitting on top of 1. This is transport stand number 2. This is actually
it's an amazing piece of work. Like they made it very clean compared to Booster 4's transport stand.
That's what I say. The fact that this one is sitting here bothers me because it's so much nicer than the other one.
Yeah, but hey, it's a rocket garden. They could make the transport stands pretty well. Most of that stuff was made actually in the Brown's fabrication building over the launch site. But yeah, it's amazing how fast they could build stuff down there. They build it themselves, and the only thing they don't do right now is bend the pipe, the square pipe.
Yeah, they get that shipped in.
And they just get it in segments and they weld it together, and they're pretty much done after a few weeks.
So what I'm hoping happens soon is that they put Booster 4 on the launch mount, take the other transport stand either to the Highbay or swap Booster 5 onto the other transport stand and take the new one to use it for Booster 7. and then put booster 5 on the old transport stand and back over here. And then basically you leave booster 4 on the launch mount until booster 7 is ready. And then after that, once you're ready to take booster 4 off the launch mount, you use the chopsticks. This is not going to happen, by the way. Use the chopsticks to lift booster 4 up into the air. Then use the SpaceX, the brand new SpaceX crane, to lift booster 7 onto the launch mount, and then use the chopsticks to set it back down on the transport stand, booster 4. And then now you don't need a transport stand for 7. And the reason I say that is because that other stand is going to take quite a while to build. Like, these things take about 3 months to put together. So if we're waiting on a transport stand in order to stack a booster, that would suck. In my opinion, the best alternative would be to immediately get booster 4 onto the launch mount so that they can do the full stack on booster 7 with that transport stand. Speaking of transport stands, you got a bunch of Starship ones down here that are being prepared.
You've got those all over the place too. If you'll notice,
Yeah.
they're just like there's one to the left. There's pieces for one up above.
This
There's
one's
just
sitting on
everywhere.
one. Yeah, they put that on one. They just use it for everything now.
Yeah, it looks like we've got to the right. We've got booster 6.
Yeah, right here.
No.
Booster
That's
6.
that's booster 6, and then to the right as well is booster 6. That one's actually 2.1 right there. Your mouse is on. So that's booster 6. That's 2.1, and then just down to the right, that's also booster 6. So right there.
6 and 6.
Yep, 6 and 6. So they'll take the 6 one right here that your mouse is on. They'll probably bring that over, put that on Starship 23's piece that we talked about before, and put that weld that together. Yeah, can't crush it. And it's really just a structural test stand. They're trying to put it under max Q loads, and then just above that you see is the test cell for max Q nose cones. There was that piece I was talking about before. This goes with that. This is the lattice structure that allows them to do all of the pulling and pushing on the grid fins, not the grid fins, the flaps of the Starship, so that it will be able to undergo the full testing of max Q and other extreme environments that they don't expect it to be in, but you can really push them to their limits or beyond their limits.
I was told hopefully you guys can hear me better now. I think I was cutting in and out a little bit. I had the stream open as well. I like to just at least read through the questions while I'm in the stream. So I cut that off. Hopefully you guys can hear me a little better now. Thomas, one of the things that I wanted to mention was the fact that there are so many of these stands. I mean, do you think that they're gonna, initially I thought that all these little concrete pads here were poured for tower construction, which they were. But now I'm wondering if they're just, I feel like they're just gonna line the entire facility with Starship pieces. And I think I've said that before, but I really hope they do it because it's kind of cool. I mean, if obviously there's going to be a massive methane production facility in here at some point, so it's not the best place for like a tour area per se. But if you lined this path right here with just various versions of Starships, they've already had school buses take tours through here too. They usually, I see them on Raptor's cam. They drive through this area all the time.
So there's school buses that drive through there that are SpaceX employees, basically transport, like that one right there.
This one's been here for like 6 months though.
I've seen it move around a bit.
Oh really?
Yeah,
okay.
So it does move around. It's not always in the same exact spot, but it's usually right around there. And they do transport workers around a little bit, but not. That's not the school bus for children. There's other school buses that do go through here as well.
Have we addressed the elephant in the room?
The bridge cranes? No, we haven't. So these two are Ace bridge cranes, about 150 metric ton load capacity, which is kind of odd. We know what Highbay has. It's 180 metric ton. Same company. It's Ace on that one as well. However, the strange part is the booster is 160 metric tons approximately, or more or less, where these are 150. So my theory on that is that they are only for the sections. So you've got let's say the methane section or the lock section that you're lifting with these bridge cranes. That's basically all you would need to do. You would never be able to lift up the full booster with that, but they'd also be able to work on starships as well easily enough. That's way below their weight capacity for these for starships.
Is
But
there any reason that they do? So on that note about not being able to lift a full booster, is the reason that they can't lift a full booster? You mean like a full booster with engines installed, right? Like they could probably lift, assuming each engine is at least 1 ton. There's 33 engines, so we think the booster is 180 tons. You subtract 33 off it, you're right underneath the weight limit of the crane. So you should be able to lift the actual booster without engines installed, right? If you needed to like swap out transport stands or something.
It really depends on how thin they're able to make some of the material. So they want to be able to have vertical stringers and as much of the booster as they can, but they also want to make the material that is the tank sections themselves thinner over time as well. So weight capacity without engines, sure, they'll be able to hit it under 160 metric tons. So I think it's part of their entire goal and process, but at the same time, it's not something where you see them constantly lifting the entire booster in Highbay. We saw that with, I believe, SN1, but that was about it. So only time you really are doing that is if you're changing out, let's say, the stands that they are on. So you have to have the transport stand that we were talking about before in order to get all of this moving along. And you can't do the full 100, let's say 70 or 60 load, because this is the limit where you go only up to 160 metric tons with a crane like this. You always want to usually go below that.
Right.
Thomas, would you ever lift a whole booster in Widebay?
I don't really think so. I mean, you could, but as long as you've got transport stands already underneath, you wouldn't need to. All movement otherwise is done by the self-propelled modular transports. We'll call them SPMTs, but that's an important acronym to use. Those are used to move them around on the floor and outside of the building, where the bridge cranes, it's really to move the sections around. You get most of the sections in there, and eventually probably the whole booster section. You can lift it, but you don't really need to.
Yeah, I agree. I just want to take a second to welcome the people who just joined us who weren't here before. Thank you guys for being a part of the show. Looks like we have 369 people watching, and Keith Tay wants us to get to 420 likes. So if you guys could help Keith and the channel out, go ahead and hit the like button. We're getting ready to move into the production site. We wanted to give a chance for everybody to show up here. We're almost about to hit 400, and that's the number that we moved to the launch or the build site with. I'm just kidding. We don't really care about views that much, but we do want to like give people a chance to come in here, because a lot of times you want to participate in the chat and stay current with what's happening instead of go back and start over and watch from the beginning. So we try and start out with the area that, at least to you guys, is least exciting. To me, this is my favorite spot. I could actually sit here and talk for hours. But yeah, like I said, thank you guys for joining us, and we appreciate all of you guys liking the stream. And were you about to say something, Thomas? Or sorry, was that Mauricio?
Yeah, it was me. One other thing, I already uploaded all these files to other YouTube members and Patreon. So if you want to become a member, you can just download these files and follow along with us as Zach and Thomas here are going through the photos.
Yeah, and that's really, I'm glad you mentioned that, because one thing that I think is really valuable for people is to be able to go through these images yourself, especially, and not just while we're doing it, before we do it. So, if a lot of you guys have questions, I can tell you guys our general format. We're always going to go Sanchez build site, basically Boca Chica village area, and then to the launch site. So if you guys want to review photos ahead of time and come up with questions, I highly encourage you guys to do that, so that even helps us to be able to address your guys' questions even better. And also, you guys can send us your questions ahead of time on Discord or Twitter. All of our Twitter handles are at the bottom of the screen. So if you guys find yourselves coming up with questions as you're looking at Mauricio's flyovers before we do our live stream, definitely DM any of us, and we'll try and answer that during our show. So appreciate you guys for participating in the way that you guys have. It's really nice, like constantly having, you know, a group of people who are just willing to sit here for an undefined amount of time and listen to us talk about what's new at Starbase.
So what else we got here?
Well, there's a few things. I'm trying to see one big thing that I'm noticing over in this area is these very large T joints. And I think that these are actually for more of the kettle boiler heat exchangers that are at the launch site, and we'll get there soon. I may even have to circle back around to this image, but I've been kind of saying for a while that I think that they're going to deliver 2 more of them, and I think this is them starting to prepare for those to arrive. So, oh wow, these are actually the fittings that go. They attach flex hose on the back of these, and then it connects to the methane pump, and then the other connects to the T. It connects to the T, which splits up. You know what? I'm gonna have to show you. No, we'll come back to it. We'll come back to it. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it looks like methane end locks for.
You see what I'm saying, though?
Yep.
You know what I'm talking about? These are the fittings that go on the flex hoses in between.
I mean,
the pumps.
they're basic T joints, so they could go on anything that you need T's on. That's the
well,
same
not the
size.
T's. You see the shiny ones in the back? Yeah, these are fittings that go onto the flex hoses that connect to the pumps. I'll show you really quick, Thomas.
Okay. And we do have a couple of questions coming in as well. So, Anita Starter, you want to grab those?
Sure, I got them whenever you're ready.
Yeah, sure, go for it.
There's a question about from David Chapa. He's asking, where is the gas well located and will it be used?
Okay, so the gas well is located below from where we're looking at here. They do actually have the gas wells being serviced. So if you zoom out a bit, you can see actually, yeah, there you go at the bottom there. Just below all of those pipes and everything below the, just to the right of those tanks, you can see that little area. That is one of the gas wells, and there's another one up to the top right, next to a truck right there. Yep. So there's those 2 sites that they have that are for basically the gas, and then one is the
this is the injection well.
Injection. Yeah.
And this one is the gas well. So not in every state this isn't all that common, but in most states you're gonna, if you have a well, you're usually gonna have an injection well somewhere nearby, and that's because sometimes you're producing water that shouldn't be on surface, so you pump it back down below surface, below the water table, and that's what an injection well is, where you take contaminated water and you pump it below, roughly like 2 miles down below the water table and like a whole shale formation. So if anything was about to make it back up to the surface, which is technically impossible, it would have to get filtered through 2 miles of rock on the way back up. So that's what an injection well is.
And if you want to zoom out real quick, I can answer the rest of the
go ahead.
David's question here. So zoom out. Is this as far as it zooms?
No, that's as far.
go to another image then. Show the top of the Sanchez here, just to the right a bit more. We've got the absorption columns there. So there's 3 of them.
Oh, we didn't get a good shot of those this week. This is the best we have of them right now.
But yeah, honestly, there's 3 of them, and you can always see 2 on the road. You can't see that 3rd one in the back. Anyways, those will be part of the process that they will be using, I believe, for part of their propellant production. So most likely they will use Sanchez to some capacity, but there could be an issue like we don't have enough, I believe, basically natural gas at the site in order to produce enough methane liquefied in order to fuel the entire production program. So you will have to still be bringing in additional methane on that side. But the absorption columns and the system they have here would work out very well with being able to distill that and use mostly methane. But there's another side to it as well. They can be using the process for generating electricity. They have 5 basically natural gas to electric generators that's about 13 megawatts. Basically, those came from Albany, Oregon. We tracked it down just to figure out like, where is this? What else is coming with it? And pretty much everything that is there. It's at Sanchez as well. So we'll look at that here in just a bit. But that's a part of the process that they need for backup power generation. And they do actually have additional power coming in right now for, I believe it was like Magic Valley Electric LLC or something like that. They're bringing in a lot of additional power so that they can do all of their process. They can do their gas liquefaction site. They needed the gas electric generator essentially for all of their site. The other night, I was watching, I think it was yesterday morning actually, the entire site started flickering off and on the lights on Labs stream. There was
I
just,
saw that. Yep.
and Sentinel Cam. Yeah, it was bad. It's like that's where you have $10,000 equipment, just like that. It's dead. So there's problems when you have brownouts and things like that. We're not sure what was causing it, but the lights across the entire facility were flickering. So being able to bring in that electricity will help fix that issue, and having backup power will also allow them to be a bit more flexible. So if you want to go back to one of the previous images, we can show the methane generators there. So let's see, not that one. Perfect, that one's good. Or that one. Any of them have. They
Oh,
all
you
have
mean
it.
they're not methane generators, they're natural gas.
Yeah, natural gas. But yeah, they basically run on methane mostly, because that's what mostly natural gas is. So they'll run on a little bit of butane, pentane. They'll take it all. They'll burn it, and then to the bottom you have your basically cooling tower. It's not an actual tower, but that's what they call it. It's that grid of circles. I'd say about 10 by 15 or so, or maybe that's more than 15, like 20. Anyways, that is their cooling tower that they're using to actually just cool down the exhaust from their system. And that was all from Albany, Oregon. There was a wood site there that was using that, and that was pretty neat. I believe we've asked that question. So moving
I wanted
on.
to just show something really quick that
Okay.
you guys were talking about, and it's unfortunately I couldn't get the higher quality version of it, but it is good enough to show you guys. When Thomas was talking about the power outage at the build site, this is basically what he was talking about. This is really bad for equipment.
This is real time.
Yeah, this is not sped
So-
up. This is literally what the lights are doing on site. Imagine people are probably freaking out.
Yeah, it went on for about 5 minutes.
It's Russia!
Yeah, so they have poor quality power coming in. They generate most of their electricity through diesel generators. They also have another generator, if you want to go back to that previous image.
Yeah. 1 second. Sorry about that.
My understanding is that the
I'm not seeing
Sanchez
the image.
site,
There you go. Go ahead.
my understanding is that the Sanchez site is not fully owned by SpaceX right now.
The property
correct?
itself is owned by Sanchez, which is a basically big oil producer. But the lease for it is they own all the improvements SpaceX would, or actually this would be technically not even Sanchez or SpaceX. It would be Lone Star Energy LLC. They're the same ones who own the oil platforms that SpaceX is converting over to launch landing platforms or whatever they're planning on there. But yeah, Lone Star Energy LLC is the one who is technically the one operating a bunch of this stuff here. They're the sibling company SpaceX, so they provide the fuel, they provide energy, and it will basically be a business unit separate from SpaceX that's handling all the rest of this. That little white box with some holes at the top, it looks like a shipping container. If you go up further on the to the left, right there, yeah, that one. That is their current power supply right now for a lot of Starbase. So basically, that's a methane to electric generator, or just the natural gas to electricity, is what it really is doing. That's what they've been using for the most part for their entire process here at the site. So they months ago, in fact, probably like a year and a half ago, they ran a lot of the conduit and everything else to make that happen. And then they were using, I believe, part of the site already, and then they brought in a lot of liquid methane in order to make the system run at all times. And so you'll see some tanker trucks looking at that.
Yeah, one of the things I'll probably post a little bit later today. So if you guys have ever watched any of the live streams outside of the launch base or the launch site, you always hear that high-pitched sound in the background. It's usually these generators. There's a few of them at the launch site. They have a really high-pitched noise. I will probably post later today what those sound like when they're by themselves. And next time you're watching Jessica or Starship Gazer, Lab Padre, anybody who's streaming on site, you'll pretty much know what you're hearing, and it's those generators. At some point, when they get, their own power source ran to that facility, that sound will probably go away and just be replaced with the sound of cables slapping against each other from the drawworks. One last thing I wanted to mention before we move on, actually, is that actually I kind of touched on this last week as well too. However, they've really started to close up this facility, and I guess this is a good enough image to show it. So if you look at this facility right here, they only have one more garage door to install, or a garage door frame. Imagine these will actually be garage doors that will come up if they need to service. The exhausts come out the roof.
So what you're seeing is all exhaust right here.
Yeah, these are the exhausts, or I wouldn't really call them exhausts. Yeah, these are the exhausts right here. And there you can see there's framework around these as well too, in order for them to install covering over them as well too. So this will look pretty nice. You won't really be able to tell what's inside it unless you're following RGV Aerial, CSI Starbase, and Thomas, so you can see. Oh, sorry, and Indian Star as well, so that you can see the progress that has been made over all this time. Or else you're just gonna look at it and be like, yeah, they installed it. It looked just like that from the beginning. Nah, there was dirt everywhere for a year before it got to this point. I think we're. Go ahead.
I want to give a shout out to Zahi Prince, who donated 179 Indian rupees towards our efforts. Thank you. He says, Thomas, I'm loving the show.
Thank you, Zaire.
And then I have a couple more questions, unless you want
go
to go on. There are more questions about your opinions. First question is from Mark. He's asking, is Starbase Texas a good analog for equipment and manufacturing testing in the gritty, sandy conditions of Mars or the Moon?
Yeah, in a kind of way, it's true, but that's the same thing for the Middle East and other sandy, gritty conditions, but we don't have the regolith that they do. So regolith is very abrasive. It's extremely sharp. It's really nasty stuff. So you have that on Mars and on the Moon because you don't have the same geologic processes and weathering processes that you have here. Mars, it's a little bit better, but still pretty bad. Moon's even worse. But yeah, your equipment is still going to need maintenance and cleaning over time wherever you are at. Otherwise, your equipment does break down.
Makes sense. He also asked another question. Beyond Starship, will there be any other testing of in situ equipment, such as power and fuel production?
In situ?
Yes, sir. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
For future Mars base?
So yes, there's going to be some of that taking place. Now, whether it's taking place at Sanchez or off-site somewhere else until they get it down, the process will be that they will want to use the Suborbital process. So the in situ means take the resources that you have and convert them into something you need. And specifically, we need fuel. We need lots of methane, and there's plenty of elements to work with on Mars. So we have water on Mars. It's an icy form. It's contaminated with lots of salt and other things, but as far as we can tell, it's there. The other part we would need is CO2. You convert the CO2 in water using electricity to using the Suborbital process to create your methane. So that's the in situ resource, and some of that may happen here. Elon has specifically talked about doing this, as well as making a process to get that happening on Earth and for SpaceX. I think he even wants to basically give a bit of money away as a prize to somebody who's able to make the process work really well. It probably will hire them too, because the issue is that it is a energy intensive process. Looking at the process itself, you have to use either solar, and the amount of solar that you use would be incredibly large. You'd have to send multiple starships just with solar panels just to make enough methane to launch another starship back. The other option would be nuclear. So you just bring a nuclear pack with you, you start it up on Mars, you get the Suborbital process going, and you now have your tanks, which were used to bring in some nuclear reactors that were able to generate enough electricity to do the Suborbital process all contained except for the ice. You need some robots to get you the ice and some other systems to compress that water ice out. You can use the regolith with the ice to actually make bricks. So you compressed out the water, you heated it up, and you made some bricks, and you made some ice, and the bricks will be used for radiation shielding for future, basically Martian inhabitants. The astronauts going up, they'll need some protection from that, and using the soil and the regolith to make bricks will be perfect. But anyways, that's best way to describe in situ resources of what we would be needing here, and what SpaceX is going to be doing, and some of that's going to be starting, I believe, in Sanchez.
GPJ would be remiss that he missed the fact that you were talking about the Suborbital process. He loves that. Last question for actually all three of you. How far from launch are we, in your opinion?
July is probably when I'm thinking a launch. It could actually be sooner than July, but FAA is going to be slowing things down, I think, on that. We have February 28th is the last day of the process before we understand where we're going from here, as far as the environmental assessment and all that. And there's many other steps that take place after that. They have to do all the insurance. They have to do all of the licensing for the actual vehicle itself. And then there's the debate of which vehicle that will be, whether it's Booster 420 or 724, or it could even be 722. So there's some debate there on which one it's going to be licensed.
Yeah.
But anyways, go ahead. What do you think, Golden Boy?
I'm actually, I've been thinking June for a while. That seems a little bit more. I mean, it's in the same time area as you. It's either basically at the end of second quarter. I personally, so to start off, I've had that opinion for probably like 2 months now, but I've kind of slowly been like rolling that out, because I think a lot of times people only are interested in Starship when there's launches happening, and that's not a way of thinking I like to promote, because I'm interested in it at all times. Like even when they're not launching. I mean, it's been close to 8 months now, I think. There's still tons of exciting stuff going on. There's the launch site at Kennedy Space Center that's under construction. If you don't have a launch site, you don't have you can't do anything with the vehicles. So for me, watching all of the vehicles, the stage 0 development is equally as important as the launches. And with that being said, I truly do think it's going to be June, and I've been like hesitant to tell people that, because I feel like it's going to make them not as interested, because they're like, oh well, I guess I'll check back in 4 months and see what's happening. But you're going to be lost in 4 months, and you're going to be really confused about why everything changed. And that's why, even though we know or assume that these launches are going to be not as close as everybody hopes they are, it's, in my opinion, still worth just being here, because it's like, you're learning about history, you're learning about how all of this stuff is made. If they were truly ready to launch when we want them to, which is the end of February, then we'd only have a month to like cover this stuff about how they made it happen before all we care about is just launching. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I think this time is valuable to just understand what's happening. It's valuable for SpaceX to understand what they're doing even further. They've onboarded. By onboarding, I mean they've hired a lot of people recently, and you kind of have to, like, if you size up your personnel drastically, you kind of want to assimilate them and make sure that they're all participating in the culture that you've set up. You know what I mean? And so this time that they're taking right now builds all of that. It builds communication between different departments where, you know, the people who are responsible for doing launch tower development are communicating with the people who are responsible for tank farm development. And obviously that already happens, but I'm just using it as an example. You know, they have better communication between those two departments because they have taken the time to build the team. And I think that, like I said, as much as people want to see this launch happen as soon as possible, the time that is being delayed only makes the end product even better. So
Yeah, we're watching history
Mauricio,
in the
what's
making.
your? I didn't want Mauricio to not give his opinion on what he thinks about.
No, but just real quick, I mean, the Starship update is in, less than a week now, so I think we're gonna get a lot of information and a lot of questions answered about where they're standing at this particular moment. And I think at that point you can make a better, you can have a better timeline on when that's gonna happen. Of course, Elon's really optimistic and he's gonna give us a date that's probably not gonna happen, but for us looking at everything from the sidelines here, I think we will get pretty good. I just hope people ask good questions. I know at the last Starship update, there was some people that were just asking some silly questions out there, and some other reporters. So it's just, I just hope that the right questions are being answered, and that's
I
pretty much
agree.
it.
Like, is 420 going to be the big one? That's a good question I want answered.
Well, along the same lines, we want to really thank Nate Z for his $10 super chat contribution. He says, "Keep it up, guys. Love the info each week." And Miss Trisha, $20. You guys rock. Thank you all for taking the time out of your day to do this for us. Because we love you.
Thank you so much, Tricia. And Nate Z. Nate's. Anyways.
Nate's.
I keep
Okay,
calling
that's
Nate's.
hilarious because you're the
Actually,
only
we
one
have
that
to.
says Nate.
This is how Nate talks, everybody. Actually, hold on. Let's get the quote. Let's get the quote from Nate before we're going to read it. I want to say it in his actual words.
And as you do that, we also want to thank Jim Cavett for his $5 super chat. Thank you so much. He says, "Thanks for all the streams. 1st of June for the first launch," is what he says.
The sooner the better, honestly, for those.
Yep,
I
I'm
agree.
thinking March. March.
My July also, there was something about that Elon was pushing last year, July. He didn't say which year.
He sure didn't.
But yeah, if you want to zoom out, Golden Boy, we can look at the site, just do a quick overview. We've got, first off, the top left, it's just the top actually, Sanchez that we were talking about forever here. Then we've got the parking lot, we've got Stargate,
Oh shoot!
and
I apologize.
the internet just popped up. But yeah,
Yeah.
Stargate is to the left, up next to the highway. If you want to point out these as we're going here, then we've got Midbay right there. Then we have Highbay just above that. Then we have Widebay under construction. I suspect is going to be above 90 meters at this point because it looks like maybe closer to 100 meters. Highbay is 81, and everything says it's going to be taller. But anyways, we'll get back to that here. Scroll out again here. We've got to the right, we have of Widebay. We have the scrapyard over here. So this is where everything's being junked. Then down below, so we're just going to go with the tent. That one to the far right will be tent 4, but maybe the future is going to be tent 5.
Yeah.
Because, there's a big empty space that's about the size of a tent here.
Yeah, that's what I've been thinking for a while. You know, some people online or YouTubers have said that this will actually become one large building, but I don't really see that happening. I think that what we're looking at is pretty much the clearing of the area that they need in order to transfer things in between the low bay and this building. So basically, you're basically going to have another. I wouldn't actually be surprised if they butt against each other, similar to the way these two do. But keeping this lane of traffic open right here is actually pretty important, unless this is the beginnings of the next lane that they're doing. So they could double this up, and you have a figure 8 through the facility, That's what I think they're going to do as a figure 8. But we'll see.
Yeah. So next, we'll have the other tents here. If you want to zoom out, just leave it zoomed out a little bit. We can look at the overview. We've just got tents 2 and 1. Just it basically goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from the road. So we suspect that will be 4, then that will be 5. Then we have low bay, also known as iron henge, also just a windbreak. That's what Mark 1 was first built in. Then we have bottom left there next to the road, we got the let's see here, the GSE building is what they call it, the ground support
Service.
equipment, but or something like that. Yeah, they basically build all the. It's a ground fabrications building.
Yeah, this is where they make all of the. I believe at one point they were making the frames for the jigs, but
yeah, they still kind of are, but they're changing their process up there.
Sorry, I want to. I feel like a few people in the comments are getting impatient. They're like, oh, they want to see about Starship and stuff. So I want to like get a little bit further in on them and kind of get us to the new stuff a little bit. I think we covered most of the general layout. So introducing Widebay, as Thomas was saying, it's pretty much up to this level of the Highbay right now. I think.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's up
about
to
that,
this
yeah.
level. And so this is actually a quarter section, or sorry, a half section right here. So you can see in between the ribs of the building, this is, well, it's not 10 meters, but we'll call it 10 meters, 20 meters. This section up here is not a full 10 meters, it's more like 5. So this building is only 5 meters taller than the Widebay is currently. And on the ground, well, let's start over here. You have the remaining section for the fourth level. So this is the last corner that goes right here, which is actually interesting. I didn't know that they were swapping them like this. They weren't doing that before, as far as I remember. But so this is the last corner for here. So while the crane is holding this up in the air, they'll add in all of the vertical, the top horizontal, and the middle horizontal pieces in order to stabilize everything. And once those bolts are all in, they'll release the crane, and then they'll start adding in the horizontal pieces that go across, but the crane does not need to be attached for that part. So after they finish bolting all those down, they'll switch over to lifting this up. Actually, another thing to mention, if it's not a windy day, they may detach without installing all the bolts. They did that last time where they lifted 2 sections in one day. I'm pretty positive that they just got the bolts that they needed to line it up, and it was so calm out that they just immediately went to lifting up the second one, and the entire rest of the day all they did was install bolts. But what I was going to say is, so you have one more section left right here, and on the ground you have these pieces right here. If any of you guys watch Marcus House's video from this morning, he kind of talked about this. I work kind of closely with Marcus on his production team, and we kind of talked about this. Thomas has talked about it as well, just trying to figure out exactly how tall this building is. And this is one of the signs that we've been waiting for, is that now that everything from the 4th level is pretty much on the tower, anything that's remaining is either part of the middle section right here, or it's part of the section that the level that goes above it. So these, to me, look like we're going to see another level of the tower that's exactly the same height as all the rest of them.
And there's all the stuff to the left too that you're
right here.
Yeah,
all of
it's
that.
everywhere.
Yeah, and one of the things that you're also going to see is this top section, let's call it a 5 meter section of the Highbay, is the roof section. So that is a set of girders, truss sections that go across. So a bunch of trusses that go across the top that make up that 5 meter section where the bridge crane sits inside of. So they're in my opinion, going to go up a whole nother level, and then you're going to have that 5-meter section on top. So this is, I don't know, probably going to be a full 20 meters taller than the other building, in my opinion, but we'll see. It's going to look cool one way or another. Sorry for that rant, Thomas. Did you want to add anything onto that?
No, I think you covered most of it, and I threw in there's just so much that's there. More came in. Probably
Since
more
then,
of that
yeah.
truss, the roof truss, is what it's probably just come in some more of that. But yeah, it's obviously going to be 5 sections tall, so each one of those pieces, I guess we could call a section.
Mhm.
And then it has 2 fake floors for each section. That's what those pieces that are sticking
Yeah.
out are basically for. They are structural. Those triangle pieces, you kind of mentioned this before. The triangle pieces that are in the inside corner, those are probably going away. They had those on Highbay as well, and then they removed them because they had the roof in place, and the outside is the real stiffeners. It's for hurricane strength winds and all those things.
I want to throw out an alternate theory. On the front side of the building, you don't have the stabilizers that go across the entrance, obviously, because there's no door. And I think with this building being a little bit larger, they're supporting it more than they were before. And if you look at these panels, this corner right here is actually a painted brace, whereas all the ones on the back 2 corners are raw steel, so they're like rusted.
Yeah,
I
those
think
got
these
removed.
are the temporary ones, and these are the permanent ones. And matter of fact, if you look inside of the air quote temporary ones, you can see the scaffolding that they've set up all the way up to the top. And a few days ago, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get to this angle quickly enough. Let's see. Maybe able to get around here so I can show you guys the inside of that section. And if we have to, oh, that was perfect. So this side, to me, like if you look at these beams, that looks temporary.
Yeah, I agree.
And that looks super permanent. And you have your stairway tucked inside here. This is the permanent stairway. Yeah, it's protected in case SN9 falls over inside the Widebay again. You're not gonna get crushed by it. These hopefully will be enough to protect you. And I would not be surprised if the permanent elevator gets put in here then, if that's the case.
So they really only need a staircase to do maintenance on the bridge crane, unless they plan on doing High Bar Part 2 on Widebay, which the first one, it's taken them a lot longer, and there's other issues like the whole stairs thing. So for a floor size that they have here, they really should actually have 2 sets of stairs, but it looks like the first office area or whatever that's going to be on the left is basically, it is not personnel that will be there. It's just like SpaceX. It's maybe just a closet or storage or something
Right.
strange like that. And so everything else would be public on the right hand side. That way they don't have to do 2 sets of stairs. Originally, we thought that the stairs were going to go for Highbay, but no, they went to Widebay for, it looks like, access to the bridge crane and maybe something else in the future.
Yeah, and one thing we thought that they might put the permanent elevator on the outside of the Highbay right here. However, it looks like there's a facility that they removed on the left side. Oh, I may have to go back. The building that was right here. There you can see all the pieces laying on the ground right here from when they dismantled it. I'm pretty sure they're gonna put that building right here.
This looks to be a separate structure entirely. This would be more of a grand entrance. So you have a wheelchair accessible area. That's a ramp just right there, going down.
Oh yeah, I see
So
it.
you've got, and then
ADA
it's
ramp.
basically just a grand entrance for Widebay. So you got 2 different wheelchair accessible areas. Actually, now that you pointed out that other one,
I like
and then
it.
some stairs. And then there actually is an elevator just in the corner of Highbay right there. So right in the corner over there to the right, I believe is an elevator, and then to the
Thought those
left
were
are the
stairs.
stairs. No, we've got an elevator and stairs right in that corner. They all go up to High Bar, or
Wow.
whatever Elon calls it.
So one thing I'm pretty sure of is that in order to get from one side of the Highbay or the High Bar to the other, you have to come out here on the balcony.
Yeah, so that's
Unless,
where it's like a closet or something.
yeah, because if not, there's no reason to ever walk on this balcony. Really, like every time I look on Raptors, I see people walking across that balcony, and I'm pretty sure that it's just. At first, I was like, "Oh yeah, you're just trying to show off," but I'm pretty sure that's the only way to get across to the other side.
Yeah, there's a front one and a back one, but it would only be able to be registered as a closet or a one-person office or something. I
I
don't know
would
how you would describe it.
I would like to propose an idea where all of the SpaceX VIPs watch the launches from this part of the Highbay, and then all of us peasants can sit at the bar on top of the Widebay, which is taller than this one, so we also get a view. But we're like, you know how this is like front row seats? We're in the grandstands. You know what I mean? I think they should open this one up for the public and keep this one to themselves.
Which bar? There's like 1,000 of them in there. Just saying.
I mean, yeah, there could be like you could have like 5 different restaurants at the top of this.
No. I'm saying each one of those those pieces going across is where we sit, because I don't think there is going to be a bar in there.
Man, it would be nice. That's all I'm saying. I got to keep my hopes up.
One time that I was out there, I talked to one of the workers. They said that in the plans that they do have plans for something up there, either offices or not sure what, but that's what they told me.
I hope so.
Starbase doesn't have enough bars, so any more we can get, we'll be happy to have, right?
Uh-oh.
Covers for
Ship
Aeroflot.
22?
Probably 22s, yeah. Or I'm sorry, 21s. Because 21, you can see that the tiles are all messed up on that one. 21 is right there. That's ship 21. I'm pretty sure it's just done. It's undercooked, and it will never be finished. The theory that I have that goes so far is, if you zoom out a little bit, you can kind of see inside of Midbay. You can see ship 22.
No, I can't from this angle.
Oh, not in this angle. Okay.
Yeah, I got you though. Don't worry.
So ship 22 will it basically stole a thrust skirt from let's say 25. It's basically a 24 type style skirt section. It works with booster 7, so it can be stacked on the new style. It's like 7 and 8 can go with it. But yeah, there it is. And the nose cone of 21 would easily be able to go with that, because it's still very similar style. So the nose cone's sitting there, so we have 2 different elements that can be attached, basically can be or are attached in the case of the skirt section, where we basically have a nice hodgepodge of Starship parts. The use of doing it this way is you get to save a bit of money on the nose cone side, and the other part is if booster 420 does not fly, ship 20 is done as well. The only thing you can keep is the most expensive part, which are the engines. So you can take the 3 vacuum Raptors and the 3 sea level engines, and it's version 1 Raptor, so it can stick right onto the ship 22, so you can save a lot of money on those things. But that's one theory I have, is what they might be going towards for a basically booster 7 and ship 22. So it's not 24/7 if that's the case, but there's still a chance as well with using booster 7 with ship 24. But I would say this would be the cheapest route, and they're going pretty fast on this.
Every time you say you could save a bunch of money on that, I just think of that Geico commercial.
At least 15% or more.
I'm like, is this our first sponsor, Geico? Hope. Is Thomas about to like drop something on us that we have a sponsor that we didn't know about? Like, what is going on here? With that being said, I noticed that we just crossed over 500 viewers. So thank all of you guys for. Oh, okay, one person left. That's cool. Sorry, guy. Thank you guys all for being here. Just want to say one more time. If all of you guys can like and subscribe, it really helps us out as far as YouTube algorithms go, and just getting more support for Mauricio and the whole staff so that we can continue to do these things for you guys. He waited 3 weeks in order to do this flyover, and I'm really glad that paid off, and I'm really glad that we're able to be here to talk about it. I'm really glad that Thomas is here with us. So, if you guys take the time as well. It only takes half a second. Mauricio had to do literally barrel rolls inside of the clouds in order to get us some of these pictures. So you guys think I'm joking? I'm gonna show you guys a barrel roll picture that he did. Hold on. You know, we'll get there. I'll mention it when we get there. I'm not gonna do it right now because it's actually at the launch site where it looked like he was pretending to be a fighter jet pilot. So, continuing on, you know, there actually wasn't as many changes in this area as I was expecting, because there's just been it seems when you watch, like, you know, anybody take photos outside of here, that there's always movement in this area. I have also noticed that it's getting super crowded. Like there's no room for anything.
They're kicking a lot of the stuff out of the tents. You'll see older sections like that one just to your right of your mouse. That no, just down
Sorry, right here.
the barrel section. No, I'm sorry, the dome section. It's basically a dome
This
up
one?
there. That, yeah, they've got
Sorry
a
guys,
bunch
I'm
of stuff
terrible
like
at this.
we need quadrants. Quadrant 1A is where you want it. That's top
Where's
left. I
Procky?
guess.
We need Procky to label everything and just like be able to click a button for the quadrant that Thomas needs and just boom, like highlight it. Procky with the labels.
Quadrant labels, yes. Anyways, so that particular one, it looks like it's an old style, like you could say puck section. You've got all different varieties. They reuse the parts as much as possible. So that would be a dome section or a puck for a starship. If you go down to just the bottom, straight down, and then just to the right a little bit, you see that is a full dome section. So they have a lot of these pieces coming as a basically, you can use one piece for every part. So the thrust sections, the domes, the front dome, the common dome, like they are all common parts. They just keep building the same parts over and over again, and they modify the parts to match what they need. And that way you actually get really good quality control with their production. But some of these domes are basically just a new variety. So we've got like a version 1, now we have a version 2.
Right, that makes sense. You know, one thing that I've been noticing about this area, and I want to give Indian Star a chance to interrupt me. Go ahead. I know what you're going to say. It's 5'5" Chevy guy.
5'5" Chevy guy Steve. Thank you for your $20 contribution. Thanks, and he says thank you for the in-depth analysis. Also, we want to welcome Tammy Blosser. She's our newest member to the RGV Aerial Elite Members Club. Welcome, Tammy.
Are you sure it's a she? Because my roommate, his name is, well, I won't say his name. I'll say his name. His name is Tamer, and I call him Tammy. So it could be a guy or a girl. You got to make sure we know that got the right guy or girl.
It could also just be your roommate.
He's not here. I miss him. Anyways, so moving on. One of the things that I wanted to point out about this area was the fact that they do not have any booster downcomers outside right now. Pretty interesting.
There might be one right in front of that those 3 trailers. It's just a segment of one.
This?
Yeah, could be part of one.
Isn't that a Starship one?
Nope, that's pretty big. Starship's Downcomers. Well, no, you're right. That could be a Starship one. I'm thinking
that's
of
a Starship one.
Yeah, it's been a
Yeah.
while since I've seen a Starship Downcomer.
Yeah, they are far and few right now. I don't know. That's concerning to me that I haven't seen a downcomer. I'm pretty sure Booster 7 does not have a downcomer. However, this building's pretty large. It could easily be in there, and maybe they can maneuver out of this door.
Yeah, most of the booster downcomers were made just below where you're at, so you can't scroll down anymore. But yeah, that's where they. Okay, so you could sort of see it here. In this area was where a lot of that was being made.
Yeah, out in front of here.
Mm-hmm. But it's been a while.
Mauser is gonna. Oh, hey, look, more perlite. Mauser's gonna kill me if we don't talk about the cargo variant, and the Ring Watchers as well are very, very on top of this. Ryan Hansen Space did a really good demo of what this would look like as well. So
I do have a good opinion on Ryan Hansen's render. The what basically
Show
he's
it?
just
Let's see.
yeah. I guess you can show it as long as
You
Mauricio's
can keep
fine with
talking
that.
while I try and get it. Go ahead.
Sure. So the thing is that they've got a barrel section. It's been reinforced on like crazy with ribbings and stringers everywhere. They normally do have a bit of that for the barrel sections, but this one is extra reinforced. They also cut out basically a section for some sort of cargo deployment system. Now it could be HLS. It could be for Starship in deploying your cargo in space as the clamshell design. The question is, with like the way Hansen has his, it would be closer to a clamshell design. This is very much just a prototype piece. They're just seeing if you can get this to structurally work with the mechanisms locking in as they do. So they are trying to basically prototype the whole thing, just like Booster One. This is basically just a throwaway article once they are done, I believe. The pieces don't match up. They just cut out a section and reuse that section for the actual door. They reinforced it somewhat, but they didn't reinforce the edges or anything else like that. There doesn't need to be any sort of seal, unlike a plane, which does need seals. This is basically for basically going into space. You're going to depressurize this section into space. If you are an HLS, it's depressurized. If you are deploying satellites, it's depressurized. Either way, but the mechanism itself can be used on a curved nose cone, because you basically just go a straight line up, and then before you get to the header tanks, you basically just do a 90-degree turn, and you have to have something lock on that top piece, which is a little bit different, and that'll probably be more of a hook design that curls around. But the whole system is really interesting to try to see structurally how they plan to move the rotation point. So do you have the animation there, Golden Boy?
I was struggling, and I do not. Actually,
So-
hold on. Let me see.
GB, we have it for you ready if you wanted to grab it from our channel.
Yeah.
Also, Thomas, I'm curious, are you like itching to drive? I'm curious because normally when you're talking, you're always drawing in what you're saying. And
No,
people
we're
don't-
fine. We're not gonna
I love to
switch over
draw.
pilots in the middle of a show.
No. I'm not asking to switch. I'm just asking if Thomas is jonesing is all.
No, I love to draw on everything to just describe what I'm talking about. So it's always fun to have little drawings on everything, and they look like child cartoons. They're like stick figures.
They've gotten better though. When you draw the door stuff, it's really good. So we also want to thank Jenkins. He or she donated $20 and says, thank you guys for all the analysis, commentary, and for being great human beings. Y'all are great human beings. I'd have to agree with that.
Well, thank you, Jenkins. That seems like a southern way of saying Jenkins. You say it with a drawl, Jenkins.
That's only
My
if you're
friend
Nate.
Jenkins from down the street suggested
Only if
that
you're
we
Nate Z.
only go into the creek on Wednesdays because that's when the gators are at the least active.
And
So I'm looking at
Crick.
these rings. I'm just shiny object here on this. There is this little ring section with the little plus sign. It looks like that's what they may have had on the inside. It and actually looks a bit smaller than the rest. Yeah, so this is the design that we're looking at. It moves up and down and latches into each of those. Just hooks in. This could also be used for, as I said before, the clamshell design. The payload described in the payload user guide, this would basically be able to fit that area.
And
So
Ryan
the
Hansen's
payload,
Space does an amazing job of illustrating all of this, in my opinion.
oh, he does. The only thing I don't understand is the mechanism, how his mechanism moves up and down. That's another element I don't think he put in here. I think he had another
Are you
Twitter,
talking about the piston that actually like lifts it up over?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Piston on tracks or something.
Hold up.
Yeah, it doesn't show it. It disappears before it sees that mechanism.
But it's
Ryan, you
amazing.
got called out, right? Me and Ryan were talking yesterday about this. We weren't talking about this. We were just talking in general. Ryan, this is what happens when we're out here trying to demonstrate things. We get called out, and then we got to come back with the explanation. So now you got some homework, Ryan. I'm excited to see the results of where that mechanism is laying at.
I think
Do
he
we
did
want to
a
watch it one more time?
I think he did a Twitter
Mhm.
post to do a different mechanism that did have that, because the focus isn't the mechanism itself. He did an amazing job on the mechanism he has, and everything else here, like perfect, spot on. The only question is, how does it go up and down? In my head, it's like the real thing is going to always be different from the artist rendition. Artists are taking the examples that they've had and reapplying them. So, anyways, I love this
Great.
this mechanism. Now there is the whole question. I know that Marcus and other people have talked about this, of moving the payload in and out if you have a cargo door system similar to this, even if it's a clamshell. There's two ways. You either remove the door, just remove some pins, and your door comes right off, and you throw in all your satellites, and really simple. Or you have your crane mechanism has basically a jib that it lowers down into the section there, and it's counterweighted, so it just sticks the satellites in that way. So there's a couple of ways you do it. So we saw that particular kind of jib mechanism when they were installing all the pieces inside of Highbay. I can't remember the specific name, but it's basically just a counterweighted pole that allows you to maneuver into stuff like that.
Sky Prop would do this to us right now. I believe Booster 4 is rolling to the pad right now. And
Don't blame Skyprop. Blame SpaceX.
nah, we could try and do something on the fly in order to compensate from this. But I would need to get permission from Lampadre in order to do that. So
let's carry on.
Yeah.
So one thing I wanted to talk about really quick was what's going on over here at the Sanchez site. Thomas, do you want to kind of talk about that?
This isn't Sanchez, but this is the BFC
Wow.
Shed site.
BFC Shed, sorry.
So no, it happens to be all the time. So okay, the top area, we have the weather station as well as a basically star tracking system. They've got a telescope in there. That's that little dome with a little cylinder. It's this tiny little area. But yeah, just to the left of that, you see the square and like an octagon. That is going to be your way of determining the wind direction and speed at altitudes higher using radio frequencies around I think it was like 30,000 feet. But they do different elevations with the different instruments there. So they have an instrument on top of one of the sheds. This is all FAA required. I believe that has something to do specifically with the SN8 launch. So an article I read forever ago was describing that the issue was that SN8 launched a bit prematurely before they had a launch license due to weather issues. Like FAA said, well, our model says this, and SpaceX is saying, our weather model has this, but everything else checks out. So we've got a launch license, we're ready to go. We did it, and SN8 launched, and FAA was like, wait, hold on, guys. But yeah, this is basically to do that. So they've been going through tracking all of the weather of Boca Chica and understanding all the weather and patterns, what goes on here. They launch weather balloons quite regularly. We've seen the weather balloons be launched from areas similar to here to the tracking station, also over at Sanchez. They or even that's not just Sanchez, but also at like the Stargate building. The weather balloons just launch everywhere.
Right. Hey, Thomas, real quick.
Yeah,
I was
go ahead.
actually out there. I can't remember which launch it was, but I was actually witnessed launching one of the weather balloons. And also to know is they also, when we're up flying around, this might be a little bit irrelevant, but they ask us what the cloud seedings are, what the conditions are as well. So that's also how they get a more accurate reading of. SpaceX doesn't ask us, but the air traffic control, sometimes they ask what the weather's like out there. They want real time, not forecast or other, other systems that they're trying to read after,
Yeah, they're trying to model the system and not the other way around. Giving you a modeled system would be really bad. You're like, I can see the clouds. I'm flying in them right now. Your models are not correct. Yeah, so there is going to be a lot of data that SpaceX is getting in for that. But yeah, that's what they have. I have no idea what the Star Tracker, not Star Tracker, but the telescope system they have there is really for, besides maybe tracking their own vehicles or other vehicles like Falcons. But it could also just be the employees really love the stars, so that's where they threw it. Not entirely sure on that one. But right below that area, that pad, you have the BFC, which is the big Falcon crane. It was a Appleton Marine Products crane. We do not know the load limits of it, but forever we thought, oh, could they use it for the launch site? And no, they decided not to. It probably only took around 120 metric tons or so. So that was our closest guess of what it could be. It was inside of this shed for the longest time. The shed was built around that crane, and they moved all the stuff out of it since then. You can see they already have plenty of fueling stations for all of the different vehicles they have on the fleet. So you're looking at diesel, gasoline, and I'm not sure what that large tank is for, but that looks a bit interesting.
And that crane you mentioned, Thomas, that was the crane that we never, ever really saw, except for the one day they put it out in front of BFC and then got rid of it.
Well, the crane itself is still here. There's the picture of it. But yeah, we haven't seen them ever use it for anything. We believe it was part and parcel of a contract or agreement with the Air Force that they would have a particular type of crane for their stuff. But this site, from original documents we could find, was originally planned for being their clean room environment for loading satellites and being able to load all that directly there.
So, quick question, Mauricio, with Booster 4 moving to the launch mount, would you have a problem with us, displaying a little overlay of, just that progress so people don't feel like they need to leave in order to see it?
In terms of using Lab Padres live stream, or
Yeah, he's okay with it.
Oh, if he's okay with it, I'm totally down for it.
Cool. I'm gonna get that going while we continue to talk. Hopefully, I'm not potatoing right now.
Okay, yeah, you're good so far. But before you grab that, I'll just point out they have the 3 SPMTs on the right-hand side of the screen, the red long guys. Those are the self-propelled modular transports. And all right, let's get your okay. Your screen's gotten all weird now.
Yeah, did it not? They didn't like it.
It didn't like it.
It's a little pixelated, is all. And also before stopped moving.
It's pixelated right now.
You have to go through and change the playback speeds in order to really see the movement at that distance and that small of a picture in picture there.
Right. So it might not work, guys. It might not work.
Good effort, though. A+.
We like to try new things in order to keep people entertained. We don't want the booster to move to the launch mount while you guys are sitting here watching us. So we want to do it all together if possible. But maybe
scrub through it real quick.
But
scrub through it real quick, and we should be able to see the.
Just so we can see like what the booster's doing.
Yeah, how far is that actually?
I actually Raptor Roost Cam just got moved, so maybe I should swap to one of the other ones. What do you say there?
Something nice and close.
This is the great thing about Lab Padre, is that they have so many views that we can all just...
Perfect.
There's our starting position right there, along with our current position. All of 5 feet got moved.
Yeah, they probably have an SPMT underneath. They lifted it up earlier and probably put the SPMTs underneath and got rid of the some of the pipe stands.
So the problem is that my normal image looks horrible right now, is what you're telling me, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
So yeah, switch back to the other method you were using.
Okay. It's worth a try, guys.
Yep.
Oh,
before moved for all of
you closed the stream there.
20 feet.
I apologize.
Yeah, it only moved for 20 feet. So while we're waiting to get that back up, there are a couple of questions if you want to hear them or be asked. You ready for a question? Did you
Yeah, go
all-
ahead. Can you see the stream?
Yep, we're back.
Looks beautiful.
So I want to point out to you guys, from time to time, we're gonna do random stuff to try and like just improve the quality of our streaming. This is our 8th episode, right, or 9th episode actually right now. So we're very much in the beginning stages, and we really do listen to a lot of the feedback that we get from you guys. If you guys ever stick around at the end of the show, we tend to put surveys at the end of the show, see what you guys do and don't like. And we do try and improve every single day. So whether that's acting on a 99-cent donation in order to improve my mouse, or if it's investing in different software in order to make transitions between showing you guys different things smoother. We try and do that for you guys every single day, and sometimes it's going to happen on the fly. So we appreciate you guys for sticking with us as we learn with you. And what were you going to add on to that, Indian Star?
I was just going to ask a question, but let's go ahead and keep talking about what we're looking at, and we can come back to the questions.
I do see that tank earlier. I'm looking at it a little bit closer now that you zoomed in on it. It is just a tank on wheels.
Are you talking about this one?
It's a trailer.
Yeah, that's a regular water or grain. Actually, it just mainly.
I think that's a fuel one.
Yeah, you're right. It kind of looks like a fuel tanker, but they have multiple uses usually. We talked about the BFC shed. One of the other things I wanted to mention was the fact that the other MK1 flap is over here.
Halfway buried in dirt. Why? I don't know.
They've got it surrounded by SWAT right now because CSI wanted to go and investigate the scene. However, they have jurisdiction, so they've blocked the area off and we cannot access it anymore. The other flap has been moved to the Sanchez lot, hopefully in preparation for an auction, but we won't know unless Elon joins us next week to let us know that he's going to auction it off. But I think we're at that point where we might be able to move over to the launch site, which I think a lot of people are really excited for.
Everybody loves the launch site.
Yeah, they do. They do. And that's my favorite place to talk about as well. I sometimes just try and like rush through everything so we can get straight to the launch site, but that's not fair for the people who really like the build site, the ring watchers, the Mausers,
Yeah, another way to look at this is the reason we go over this stuff is majority of your launch operations are not from your actual launch day. It's all the infrastructure and everything else that goes along with it. So looking at all this stuff helps us understand where the money is going, what they're spending their money and time on and effort in order to build rockets, in order to build launch facilities. And seeing all that is pretty useful to me.
Well, here we are, the launch site, the business end.
Yep. So you got your Suborbital fuel farm here.
I'm not gonna point at anything right now, Tom. So I'm gonna step away for half a second while you just give everybody an introduction to the suborbital pad.
All right. So yeah, we've got our suborbital fuel farm with our suborbital pads A and B. So from the top to bottom of those circles to the right, that's launch test stand A and test stand B. They're kind of also launch pads technically because we do launch rockets from those. They are suborbital so far. No way we can actually launch a Starship orbital without removing all the tiles, fins, and it just is a decaying orbit, which is terrible. But RGV, what were you saying? Oh, okay. Guess
I think he was not us.
So, yeah.
I wasn't muted over here.
Okay. But yeah, so we've got, I guess from bottom, we've got those 3 large tanks. We call those the 3 amigos. They're water tanks. They have the pumps and everything else to go along with them. And above that, of course, we have perlite, bags and bags of perlite just stuffed in there for, trying to hide it from everybody else, I guess. Anywhere they find room to put stuff, they put perlite there. It's just the bags that are the mineral that is perlite, so that they can use those later for not just, I think, the the two remaining methane tanks, but everything else. But you have your methane tanks that are the white cylindrical tanks at the bottom. So yeah, those two guys, those are both methane tanks. Then you have your high pressure gases, which is probably high pressure gaseous methane here. And then you have, that one's not methane. That one's going to be high pressure, probably LOX or nitrogen.
GOX.
GOX, yes.
Gaseous oxygen.
Yeah,
Oh,
and then
no.
they also have you have nitrogen and the smaller of the two tanks.
So
and then
I want to run through
yeah.
this again, and I agree with everything you're saying, but I want to like translate this over to what's happening on the suborbital pad or the orbital pad. So like Thomas was saying, methane, you have a large methane tank, you have a smaller one. You also have most likely nitrogen, most likely your liquid oxygen. This right here is most likely your gaseous methane, gaseous oxygen. These are startup gases that are used to spin up the turbo pumps. The other startup gas that's needed to spin up the turbo pump would be helium, which is placed on this side because it's usually going to get delivered on a truck and taken away. They don't have large helium tanks in order for them to just store helium, so they just bring it in these canisters usually and then exit out the other side with it. So these are they replace these more than they replace the other ones. There's no need to replace this one and this one because right here they have a vaporizer, which is basically you empty out liquid oxygen liquid methane into this vaporizer, which turns it into a gas and pressurizes this tank. Same thing on this side. I think this vaporizer is able to switch back and forth between oxygen and nitrogen, but I could be wrong.
So the vaporizers are actually mostly used to pressurize systems using going from nitrogen and vaporizing nitrogen from liquid to gas to pressurize other systems. It's used for all their pneumatics. It's used for the control systems. Sometimes it's even used for as part of not the pump system, but some back pressure on things. That's very useful. Also, clean outs. Before they even, let's say, load the vehicle with propellants, they run gaseous nitrogen throughout the whole thing. Basically, make sure it's in a safe state. You don't want oxygen in your methane tank, that kind of stuff. But yeah, so the vaporizers are mostly for that part of the process, but they do recondense all their methane that they can get their hands on. They'll use nitrogen to cool that down. So at the bottom you'll see, or let's say just to the right of that long tank, just to the right, we have a heat exchanger. That's where they do it for the LOX side. There's a heat exchanger down below that's just to the left. Yeah, there you go. That one's for the methane side. But all of your reclaimed methane comes into that first tank. So they do bring that all in. Sometimes you get some gaseous methane in there as well. And that's all hooked up to the flame stack, which we haven't seen ever used, but they do seem to go through and release either methane or nitrogen gas off of that flame stack, and it seems to be a regular part of the process now. But anyways, that's a quick overview of the suborbital fuel farm.
Yeah, and just to I don't want to skim through this too quickly. We obviously have suborbital Pad A and suborbital Pad B right here. Mm-hmm. This one is in the process of getting renovated. Most likely, actually, it's kind of up in the air. Either one of them can get renovated in order to hold a booster on them, or they could both stay Starship pads. But if one of them is going to get renovated, it's probably going to be this one because this suborbital Pad B has a new quick disconnect installed on it. And maybe I can just skip over to some other images so that we can see a better shot of it. So, I guess so suborbital Pad A has some mounts on it ready for an adapter that will allow boosters to sit on top of this. While boosters are sitting on top of this, they will not be able to have any of the outer 20 engines installed on them, which also makes it more unlikely that they will use this for boosters, in my opinion. However, what they most likely are probably in the process of doing is something similar to what's happening with the Starship, where... Okay, let's get around it. Let's get around the Starship. Keep moving. On the Starship, you actually have a quick disconnect that's attached to the transport stand itself. And this is not the greatest image to see it, but you can tell that all the pipe work. Wow, this is a good time to talk about this, actually.
Shiny object moment.
Yeah, shiny object moment. This is a big one. I gotta find the right angle to show it.
Before you do that, do you want to actually do a quick overview of what the whole site is, just real quick?
Yeah. Let me just get a good
Oh,
angle really
perfect.
quick.
That's one.
Now I'm looking for this the bottom left corner. I know
I
he
see.
always gets them every single time, so we're almost there, guys. There we go. Oh man. Oh, we can see the starship. Cool.
Yeah, right there.
So at the tank farm, a lot of stuff going on here. So you have your liquid oxygen pumps over here. You can see that they're probably, if you look at the methane pumps on the other side, they're like 3 times larger than the methane pumps. There's only 2 of them. There are 1, 2 methane pumps. There used to be one right here, which they got rid of. It's laying on the ground right here. There's a brand new one right there, I believe, in a box, possibly. There are the drive units that are on top of the pumps. There's 1, 2 of them sitting right there on the ground. So they're essentially about to install 1, 2, 3, 4 LOX pumps. The pipes right here.
Methane. Sorry.
Methane. Sorry, thank you. The methane pumps are going to go up top. Sorry, methane. Wow. These pipes right here are part of the subcoolers. So essentially, there's going to be 2 more subcoolers that show up. They're just not here yet. So this pipe down there is going to go across the top of these 2. The big ones at the Sanchez site that we were talking about at the very beginning of the show that had the huge things on the end of it. These are the flex hoses. These are the T's that the flex hoses attach to.
There's the T's at the top as well.
Yeah. So you can see that they already put the T's in place for the on the methane side, but on the liquid oxygen side, they have not done that. So it looks like they're not planning on expanding the LOX side so much yet. However, the methane side is where all the business is. So there's going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 methane pumps, 1, 2, 3, 4 methane heat exchangers. You have 1, 2 methane storage tanks currently, 2 expansion tanks, or these are like reclamation tanks, right, Thomas?
Most likely for gaseous methane.
Yeah,
you
during
would
the
collect some
detank
of
process.
it. Yeah. So you want some of the gaseous methane. It would go through that system. It would be to really chill it, and any gases that you're going through and collecting, you would then collect and try to redensify. But the main part is it's just to go in and cool it down, and then it goes back to those main tanks.
Right. So what you guys can see here is that this space is being cleared out to the right where the berm used to be. So this is where the berm was. And I imagine that they may break this wall down and put the 2 tanks at the Sanchez site side by side. So this pipe right here is the pipe that is used to fill each of these tanks. So all of these tanks, no matter if there's 2 or if there's 4, they'll all be at the same level, the fill level internally. So when you fill one of them, you're filling all of them unless you decide to isolate them one at a time, which is a possibility, but I have not seen them set up to do that. So you put the 2 smaller tanks that are at the Sanchez right here, and then you rebuild the berm right here, and then this is on the other side of the berm. That's kind of what I'm thinking is going to happen. You also can see that they have the tunnel that was removed from the berm still sitting down here, and more berm making materials, or what do you call it, rebar to form the berm. Yeah, it's chilling down here, just waiting to be used. So all those truckloads that we saw leave might potentially come back and go straight down here with those 2 other tanks in the middle. And before I continue on to the other crazy stuff in this picture, wow, yeah, there's so much. So I kind of talked about this earlier in the week as far as the testing procedures that happen here. So the last time that we saw, the last real test that we saw was basically ending up. It was a bunch of purging that looked like it was coming from in front of the starship, but it wasn't in front of the starship. It was coming out of here. So they were purging this entire pipe system, and this pipe system is important because it actually comes out of the bunker, and one set of pipes goes to the launch mount, the other set of pipes goes to the launch tower. But all four of those pipes, because you have a liquid oxygen, methane, all four of those have a T installed on them that allows them to go behind the berm. And then they go down and under the berm. And then they come out right here. And then you have a staging pad right here for the starship, and you have a staging pad right here for the booster. So, this is where the speculation kicks in. The booster staging pad is directly connected to the launch mount. The starship staging pad is directly connected to the launch tower. So you can either switch back and forth between feeling the launch mount, doing a test on the launch mount, or the booster staging pad, or you can switch back and forth between testing the launch tower or the starship staging pad. Or you can do a full stack and do a cryo test on the booster, starship, and a booster on this pad all at the same time if you had enough storage in order to pull that off. So that's one thing that I want people to understand, is that when you see venting from over here and at the launch mount at the same time, that's not two separate tests. They're the same thing. This right here is connected to the launch mount. This right here is connected to the launch tower. Super important. And that's why when you put the starship over here, you connect all of it's connected to the tank farm now. So yesterday, they tested the pre-pressurization. So if you were listening to Rover 2, you heard all the hissing sounds of them just pushing gas throughout the vents. They were testing the pre-pressurization part of the starship through those lines. And I would not be surprised if the next thing was to just test fuel loading, aka or just nitrogen. And then after that, test the detank process. And that's like basically the same thing that they did on the launch mount. Because this is suborbital C, in my opinion. This is suborbital C, and this is suborbital D, in my opinion. Because the transport stand is the test stand, and therefore these two have to be the two test stands, because you can do cryo tests in these two spots. Does that make sense, Thomas? Am I explaining that good?
Yeah, so it's in a theory category because we don't see the inside of the bunker itself, but it does make sense that they would use the same pumps for the starship, the same pumps for the booster. So you would have two separate pumps for the two separate stages because they are staged inside that bunker. They do call this area the two pads here the cryo stations. So that is something where they will probably in the future do cryo tests. Yesterday, I was expecting a cryo test of the starship. They've already had cryo tests, but this would actually be more of a cryo test to test their system more than it is to test the starship itself.
And you're testing that new quick disconnect that's installed on the transport stand.
Yeah, so it's
a mobile fuel delivery system. Like you're taking transport stand, or sorry, you're taking test stand A or B and condensing them down to a transport stand. That's literally what they did.
Yeah, I just call it a cryo stand.
Yeah, it's a cryo transport stand.
Yeah, it doesn't do much else besides those.
CTS 1, that's it right there. Cryo transport stand 1. Man, this is crazy. There's so much in this picture. So
yeah, focus.
It's just like I'm struggling right now because I don't know like which parts I do and don't want to talk about. My favorite thing, let's get a better image of this. I know we can get zoomed in because Mauricio, we're approaching the area where I started to feel like he was doing barrel rolls over the launch site because I'm like, how do you look down like this? It's a barrel roll. Wow. Look at that.
Before
Yeah,
you
the
get
weight.
too distracted, can we also thank Mighty Don Don for his 20-pound contribution? He says your content is, or she says your content is really good, and to keep it going. So I'll let you keep going.
Thank you, Mighty Don Don. That's awesome.
I'm so
Thank you.
excited right now. This is amazing. Mauricio, 20 days in between flights is like, it's not your fault, man. But it's unacceptable. It's like, there's nothing you can do about it. It's just unacceptable for me. Like, I can't take it out on you. I'm just mad at the world. You know what I mean? It has nothing to do with
Pray
you.
to the weather gods to make
I
it
know every
good for every
day.
flyover.
Every day I pray. I like look up at the sky of like, I hope these clouds in Chicago are not the same clouds that are in Texas today. And I think of Mauricio most mornings because I never know when he's going to do a flyover. He never tells me, so I always assume he's going to do a flyover today. And I wake up and I look at the weather and I'm like, if Mauricio's going to get in the air, it's got to be right now.
And mind you, that's probably because he has a flyover scheduled almost every day.
Good point. Yeah, it's so true. I'm glad you're willing to like work this hard, Mauricio, when you also still have a full-time job, because if not for that, then we'd be sitting here guessing what's happening when we're watching all these tests. I mean, look at this.
You can see all the cryo lines are hooked up to the Starship. So yesterday, the testing that they were going to do, I was expecting something. I heard a lot of something, but we could not see any venting. We couldn't see any dust. We couldn't see anything happen yesterday the entire time that they had that closure going. Yeah, this is.
I just got the breaking news that I was hoping it wouldn't happen, that the booster is on the move again. So thank you, SpaceX, for trying to derail our stream. It's fine. One thing I wanted to point out is that this is, in my opinion, the busiest culvert on the block. Does that make sense? So they have 1, 2, 3, 4 massive cryo tubes. There's actually 5. There's another one on the bottom that you can't see. So there's 5 cryo tubes, and then all the pre-pressurization lines for booster and Starship, and the startup gases. Every single thing that's required to connect to a ship QD and a booster QD are all coming out of this hole. There's like 18 pipes coming out of this hole. It's insane. I don't understand how they even fit all that in those jeans. So, moving on, one of the other cool things that I noticed is that
What was that, Ian Star?
she asked if I said jeans. Yes, I did. So one of the big things, and I'll start small. We have this, the pipes that run up this leg of the launch tower. There's a big, huge hole with maybe trash cans around them so that nobody falls in. This huge shield right here, which we all talked about a few weeks ago, most likely getting prepared to go over that hole. The fact that it's not there, to me, says that they're not done testing this system yet, or else they would already have that in place, because it's been sitting here for about 4 weeks, actually. And, you know, everybody keeps saying, this is my favorite part of this entire episode today, guys. Oh, wait, second favorite. Everybody keeps saying there's no water deluge. But Max Q and I, about 6 months ago, and I'm not going to go through the pictures today, but we traced down some pretty massive water lines that are running from here to here, roughly. Allegedly, they're running there. We're not 100% sure. But mind you, the entire launch pad is covered in concrete except for this area right here. And one thing I wanted to show really quick is the fact that you have these panels on the ground, which they've been setting up, welding all the metal together, create these panels. And they've also been putting all of these panels on the top of the roof. So, you know, they put this panel on the back. So there's a lot of cover-up work going just to protect this surface. You're probably going to see some cover-up work on the back side of the booster quick disconnect as well, in order to protect all that stuff. However, this right here is a mystery. I mean, there's 2 huge culverts that are coming out of the ground. In my opinion, there's massive water pipes that are buried down here somewhere that they've just not yet brought to surface. And if you guys look at these panels, I took the liberty of tracing them out for you. However, I'm not gonna do it live because I'm not that skilled yet. Instead, I'll just show you guys really quickly what I think they look like once you move them around that hole. So, I mean, just taking this one was here, this one was here, that's this one, and that's this one. They're like perfectly laid out. I had to rotate one of them. I think I rotated this one. I rotated that one. If you stand all these up, you have a massive box that goes right here. Who knows what it's for? But that's probably what's going to happen. That's all I know. This is the only place where there's no concrete at.
There was concrete there before. It looks like they've dug it up and are trying to access the area. Remember, there was it's either there or just to the right of that. That's a circle.
Oh, the
that?
circle you're talking about. Let me swap back over. The circle you're talking about is actually on
Just below the chopsticks.
Yeah, it's right here. Can you see that?
Nope. You're
Okay.
on a different screen.
Apologies.
While you're switching screens, we want to thank Casey for donating $1.99 towards your jeans fund that you just mentioned, Zach.
My which fund?
Jeans,
Jeans.
because you made the joke.
Yeah, Casey is actually the same person who donated to me getting this green mouse, I think. If
Yep.
you can confirm that for me. Because sometimes you gotta have other people to confirm that their money goes to use. And we try to improve every single time that we do this. So I was attempting to do my next feature as far as software upgrades go, but it's not ready. Today's not the day. We'll get there. But thank you for the donations, and I hope you guys appreciate the way that this content improves every time. It's definitely a learning curve for all of us, and we don't want it to be honestly, we don't want it to be the same people every time. We want to bring in team space to talk about the things that like they're all specialized in. So I have things that I care about more than Thomas does, and Thomas cares about things that I don't. Grandpa Joe cares about things that I don't. So, and I won't say care, I will say specialize. You know what I mean? Like we all specialize in different things. So as different things become important to talk about, I think it's good for us to just cycle in commentators. So hopefully you guys don't get too annoyed of us, because you might be seeing a lot of us around pretty much everywhere soon. Just throwing that out there. But to continue on, we got a lot of protection going on down here. There's the bunker that was built around the cryo tubes that run to the tower, which from space would probably look the same at like a continuation of this structure. I would not be surprised actually if they make a ramp up, like connect these two, so that anything that comes through here goes up and over instead of hitting this wall and causing a reactionary force in that wall. Instead, you divert it up and over. That would be really cool to see. I don't know, Thomas, you see anything else cool other than the rooftop that they've continued to?
Well, what isn't cool? I mean, that's the question.
It's like, yeah, you're right.
So, I mean, you could point at pretty much anything. We could talk about it. Yes, they've got the roof going, but they do need to get that eventually completely covered, which will be nice. Right now, they do have a few lightning rods up there, so it helps mitigate static electricity up there, prevents a lightning strike. But if you do have a lightning strike, it'll hit that instead of the tower, which, well, it's metal anyway, so it doesn't matter as long as you've grounded it. That's a way that you can move the electrical currents away from it. We do kind of hope to see a bit of LED lighting in the future. That'd be cool. But right there at the top corner and the bottom, you see that they have those little posts that stick out. Each of the legs with what we call rails, they each have one of these basically. So that one on the far left is very similar, which really is the part that holds the chopsticks to go up and down. Anyways, that particular element is on all three sides, not four, because the part without the rails does not have one. And then at the left-hand side, you can see that there's a bit of scaffolding. It's like a window washer basket. So they're removing the paint on all of those legs going up and down. They haven't really used this part yet, and it's just above the Starship QD. So all of that is in play. You can see they have the one on the right pretty far up. This is all. But by the way, this is all on the 2nd when these pictures are taken. So about 3 days ago.
I'm not pointing for you on purpose. I'm grabbing together some secret photos that nobody knew that we were going to show, and that may supplement you to help you out, Thomas.
All right.
I know what you're talking about.
Well, so I probably move pretty quick. So here grabbing an image, and you'll have to grab another 2.
No, I mean what I was going to add on to what you're. Oops, sorry. What I was going to add on to what you were saying is that this window, air quote window washer platform, it can move up and down the entire launch tower. And also one of the cool things about it is that once it's way up here out of the way, it can pretty much be there forever. So it's like something that they can just leave tucked up underneath the bottom of the launch tower's nose, and you'll never know it's there. So you can just rappel down from the top of the launch tower and do any maintenance that you need onto the rail structure, which is really good because actually the on top of the launch tower is where there's a walkway up here, so people can just come all the way up to the top, get in their little skybox or what do they call it, sky cart, and just rappel down to the area that they need to get to in order to fix what they need to fix. So I think it's really cool the way that they have this set up. Wow. Dang. You know what, Thomas? There's unfortunately a ton of really good ground pictures right now.
So you want to go?
I don't know what to do.
I know what to do. There's a ton of really nice contributions and donations. There's a $49.99 donation from Rocket Profit who says, "Keep up the great work." There's Flying Cameras is now an RGV flight supporter. Welcome to the team. And Donald Borland, he donated $20 saying that he got here a little late, played it at 2 times the speed, but had a question at Sanchez whenever you get a chance. So whenever, John, if you want to put that question into the chat, we can go ahead and grab it. And when we have question time, I'll ask it for you.
Before we move to ground picks, this is one of the engine covers for the booster, I think.
Yeah, it looks like it goes around in a circle around the center engine. So it basically goes between the outer 20 and inner 9.
Yeah, they removed it for some reason. Actually, I don't think this one was ever installed. I don't think this thing is fully paneled up yet, honestly, but we'll see.
Underneath the Raptors, you don't want to panel that all up until you are ready. So they have the stuff ready to
This is the keeper door, the last one that once you put this on, you're never going to get back in there.
Well, it's like last 1 or 2. You still want access to stuff around there to work on it, test things, and also just make sure your measurements are right. Sometimes these things don't work out because that door might need a hole in it that they didn't realize because the designs didn't show it needed a hole, and now it does. So there's things like that are elements that they have to work with.
Makes sense. This is one of the first times I've ever been excited to like maybe move away from ground picks, away from flyover picks. And the reason is because there's some crazy stuff happening that I haven't even mentioned yet, and I'll just say it right now. I don't know if Mauricio is even aware of this. This will be a fun little question for you, Mauricio. Well, actually, number one, let's point out one more thing. They've been doing some groundwork over here to give it a little bit more runoff capability instead of eroding their own base. So that's nice. Because I've been seeing a lot of erosion.
Erosion's a huge problem around there.
Major issue. Yeah. One of the other super big things. Literally, nobody's mentioned this for some reason. There is a massive set of scaffolding that is being erected over here in front of these tanks. So you can see scaffolding over here. This is 1, 2. There's another set up top. It's a 3-layer scaffolding set right now. That's roughly 20 to 30 feet tall. The wall is about 6 feet tall, and it doesn't even come up to the bottom of the first level of the scaffolding. So this is easily 3 times taller than the wall that's currently there. They have a bunch of rebar inside of here in order to build up another wall. And they also have rebar all along this outside edge. One of the big things that we've seen with this part of the tank farm is that most of the cryo tubes are underneath. They're covered in culverts and whatnot. I'm going to go ahead and say that all of this is going to get covered up. All of it. You won't see any of these pipes right here. I'm pretty
Basically,
sure.
it's another culvert.
It's a man-made, it's a manual culvert. It's not like you can just deliver it and put it on the ground. They're building a protective cover over this entire pipe system, I'm pretty sure. I can't tell if it's going to come down over here or not yet. I would hope that they don't cover the valves like that. I think it may just end right here. But yeah, I'm pretty sure all of this is going to be buried. There's a set of if you guys saw a post I made earlier this week, I talked about the conduit that's coming out of the ground. You know, now's a good time actually to move over to the ground shots. But one last thing I'll show. The methane offloading parking lot. So this used to be where so this tank farm has had 3 major renovations. So the first time they had all the methane offloading ports right here. And so you would offload liquid oxygen and nitrogen up to this point, and then offload methane from here on. But that makes no sense. So now, a few months ago, they moved this pipe over here, and it came around the berm, and all the methane offloading ports were over here. So they basically created a parking lot on the landing pad for those trucks to back in and offload. But then they decided to remove the berm. So they removed this pipe. This used to be switched around this way. They cut it, swapped it over to this side, and now all the methane ports are installed. There's actually, this is a shut-in valve. We'll see it later. 1, 2, 3. See if it's viewed. 4, I think 4 methane offloading ports or so. Shut-in valve. This is a joint that needs to get welded. So weld, valve. Thomas, is that another valve?
There's a bunch of different places where it's welded. So let's see. That
2
would
valves
be...
next to each other. Weld, valve.
No, the valves would have to be separated because you're talking about like a parking lot. You have to space things out.
Yeah, I'm looking.
So I
I'm
think
looking
that's
at the way
just- I
that
think
you can
it's
fit
the-
2 trucks next to each other right here.
I think it's just another weld. What that would be, because that's a valve. The next one over is a weld, and then another weld, and then you've got a short distance, and then valve, and then valve. Yeah.
So 1, 2, 3,
4. Yeah.
4 parking spots for methane.
5 is right next to it.
This
right
one is
there.
the
bleed.
closing valve that we found. Yeah, or the bleed, whatever you want to call it. Isolation. And now is a better time. There's no better time than now to get down to the ground level, I think. Let me swap over. Boom. And let's see, we're at 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Got 45
so we got
more
45
minutes.
minutes to go through the ground photos. And you know, a lot of people are like, oh, 3 hours is too long. Come on, guys. You're still here. You were here from the beginning. You know it's not too long. So this is where it gets even more interesting, in my opinion. And Thomas, I want you to stop me if you hold up.
Go full screen if you can, please.
Yeah. I knew you were gonna say that. I read your mind. I'm a Jedi, in case you didn't know.
And now you're outside of full screen.
Okay.
There we go.
I think this is 21. 20.
Yep. Pretty sure they broke the tiles on 21 intentionally, probably doing some tests on the tiles themselves because they've got an article. Might as well use it for their actual testing as much as they can.
I thought you were going to say anger management.
That little baseball bat action, yeah.
Austin Bernard got a little upset. Take a
So
hammer to
we're
the
going
tiles.
through quite a bit of these.
I'm scrolling through on purpose.
Okay, do you want to actually talk about some of these things, or?
Yeah, no, there's a lot in here, and I'm being selective. And the reason I'm being selective is because if you guys are RGV members, you'll be able to go through these one by one on your own time, because there's so much to see. I want you guys to be able to view it yourself. So make sure, if you're an RGV member, you go and download this image gallery so you can watch it yourself. And Thomas and I will kind of focus on, honestly, not all the big things. There's even things that we will not mention in here that are just like kind of obvious from the sky. So if you guys are looking and actually paying attention to what's happening in the details, you'll also be able to see those and message us and be like, hey guys, why didn't you talk about this thing that was wide out there in the open? And the reason that we do that is because we're just trying to see who's paying attention. So this is outside the Highbay?
Yep,
Are you
that's the new one. The new front entrance, I guess you could say, for Highbay. It's the one with
Is
the
it,
wheelchair access.
but you don't think this is relocated from that other facility?
No, it looks like new steel.
Sure does. I agree. I love these, man. I really like the way that they've strapped it to the main beam.
Well, that scaffolding
I
is
was not expecting
scaffolding.
that.
The other day, we put up 2 pieces in one day. This is the reason why they were able to do it. They just walked over with a bag full of nuts and bolts and threw it together very quickly. They didn't have to go through and climb up each piece and be nearly as careful as far as some of the other stuff goes, because they literally stand on beams with 2 safety harnesses attached to things, and it's just, that part's crazy. This looks so much easier. Yeah, you
It's
still
genius.
wear
Like, why
safety.
did they not do the Highbay like this? It's so much easier.
Another
I mean,
company, I believe, did Highbay.
oh, you're right. That makes sense. So, one thing that I see, there's actually a gate right here. So, the big yellow crane, not the LR 11,000, but the smaller, I think it's a 1600/2, but I'm not sure. It has a man basket on it, and if you're watching at the right time of day on Raptor Roost or Sentinel, you'll see them lift it up in the air, the man basket, and it'll bring like 6 guys up at the same time. That's how I always know when they're about to lift a section of the tower. I see them lift all the guys up onto this tower. I'm giving away my secrets. I see them lift all the guys up onto the tower and start walking around, and they all get into position. That's kind of how I know that it's about to happen, for the most part. But yeah, I just like the way that this platform is up here. I would not be surprised if they do not remove this for a very long time. It's going to take a while to finish the exterior.
Yeah, so as soon as they finish the exterior, then that stuff comes down, because pretty much after that, they're done. This would be in the way.
Wow. I've always wondered how they do this part. This is why I think that this is going to take a long time to come down, is because what they do is they go and put down, and I'm proving myself wrong at the same time, but put down everything that is able to be drilled down or latched in position quickly, and anything that requires caulking or whatever, you do that last. However, they're kind of showing, oh, this is part of prefab. This section that's above this has to be done using the walkways. I don't know if we can. Let's see it. Oh man. I don't want to go back too far. Nah, it's okay.
All
Now
right,
we're at the starship, actually.
Yeah, let's talk about this for a little bit.
Do you want to
So
keep going because it's gonna get closer?
Well, we can go through the images, but ship 22 right here. Go back to that previous image one. The entire raceway right here was installed all at once. They had a few welds to put down, and they just put it up as one piece. And then you've also got the left and right FTS stuff up higher. But this is the way of manufacturing to make this to go so much faster. And I'm so happy to see them do this. So instead of going through and installing lines one at a time, going up and down in boom lifts and man baskets, you have this approach where everything has a connector. Some things you have to work with a little bit more, but it's so much faster in this method.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at this guy's face, he's pretty much just telling his homeboy, like, yeah, man, this is so much easier than the way we used to do it. Spend a week up here lifting pipes up and down one at a time. Now we just get up here and just connect everything all in one day, man. Before you started.
He's like, yeah, I was crawling on my hands and knees for 6 weeks installing stuff. Now I get it done in all in 15 minutes.
You got it good. You don't even know it. I love this. The first time I saw them lift that up, I was really excited just because I kind of knew what it was right away. And like, I mean, you see down here at the bottom of that same piece, they have flex hoses on all the joints. So like this right here is the parts that the autogenous pressurization lines, they actually fold down, and they fold down because they're flexible. And once you fold them down, they plug into these ports down here at the bottom. 1, 2, there's some hidden behind here, and all of these right here. So they basically build the whole thing in the factory and then install it. Once they're ready, there's a chain fall up here. Sorry, I'm going up and down a lot, guys. I'm still getting used to this. So there's a chain fall right here, which will allow them to slowly roll it out and fold it down until it is ready to connect to all these ports on the bottom.
So there's one thing that in general, and I've talked to my friend Stumpy and others, the more connectors you have, that's not good. But once you actually have things where it's like manufacturing of, hey, I only need to connect it down here and up there at the top, and it saves so much more time and energy to do these things, then great. As long as you got the good connectors you want and they're stable, you're good to go. So production-wise, this is going to be so much faster than everything else. Do you want to go to the next pictures, or is there more stuff you want to talk about here?
No, I was just waiting. I was kind of looking ahead on some of the images just to see what we had coming up. You can see all these conduit lines. They're actually not autogenous. They're conduit lines that come out the top that connect to all these little ports.
Those look like some of those pneumatic lines right there at the right, which that's kind of odd, the way that they're like that. Which no, they couldn't be pneumatic. There's probably
Look how many connections they have. That's insane.
Well, they have to have power. They have to have data. They have to have all the sensors, the wires for those, wires for cameras, wires for everything, FTS, you name it. There's wires for it. There's connectors for
Thomas,
it.
we don't say that word around here, man. He's like, I'm gonna do it anyways. I'm just kidding, buddy. You think the FTS, like, so basically every comm system of the entire rocket enters in or out of one of these ports?
On the top or the bottom, yeah. Then there's all the other things that are like pneumatics, which are the control systems for all of the valves. You have pretty much everything needing to go through there, and then you've got your radios to the left, those little circles. You've got other vent systems as well. So there's plenty of parts to go around for methane and nitrogen for RCS, as well as LOX or other elements. You need all of those to be controlled through something, and that's what all of these holes are for connectors, or for the pneumatic lines and everything else there. But yeah, I'm not actually seeing any pneumatics here. Now I'm looking at it. It's all wires right here.
Yeah.
So pneumatics are probably going to be still the part that takes time, and that's going to be an interesting part of their project.
Agreed. I guess somebody mentioned that an Astra launch was scrubbed. Failed range asset. Failure of a range asset.
They scrubbed. They can't compete with the RGV stories.
Yeah, well, this is the first time they tried launching for this, and it's a big project for them. It's NASA. They don't want to get it wrong. They want to get it very much right. Oh, here we go. Let's go with this one. Shiny object.
Ring Watchers Unite.
Okay, so up at the top here, we've got what looks to be a section for a booster for the new LOX header tank. So it's going to be inside the LOX tank. You just want liquid oxygen inside the tank, not any gaseous oxygen or GOX. So the neat thing I've got a theory on is that this new tank dome, that's a header tank, that's the dome part you see right here, is also going to be about the same size that you will have in the nose cone for potentially the methane header tank. So they moved the methane header tank to the very top of the vehicle for starships. So they're going to, I believe, use that same common element for both. We don't have any weld lines or evidence yet, so either they're a tank within a tank, just a full one, which it really increases the mass, which you want to decrease the mass. The best way to do that is just to reuse the walls of your tanks as much as possible wherever you can, and you just have a bottom section like this for, let's say, potentially a methane header tank for Starship. But yeah, we can move on. But that's just a shiny object I wanted to go after.
One thing I noticed is that the HPUs, this is the hydraulic pressurization unit on the Starship. They're actually being installed way ahead of stacking them, which is also new, I think.
Yeah, and this is the one we saw just come in the other day.
Yeah, the other weird thing is that these ribs are at the same, like, intersecting with the middle of the HPU, which I don't think I've noticed before.
Well, the HPU is standing off from it a little bit, but that is very strange to kind of look at. So, yeah, this is a booster section we're looking at.
Yeah, this is a booster section. You're right.
It's got the stringers. It's got the LOX header tank inside. It is all there. So they did change the design. It looks like if you scroll up, I guess to go further into the shiny object, the top of that is pretty much looks like what would be the Downcomer. So this is something we talked about the other day. I do daily like rocket talks.
Oh wow, it's inside of the ring, huh?
Yeah, but I don't like that design because it decreases your fuel that you'll have there. I'd rather have a lower dry mass. But yeah, it looks like the Downcomer just goes straight through. So methane goes through this tank, not exposing it. It's just a pipe inside of a tank. And it goes all the way through to the bottom, and then it goes out from there to all 33 engines.
What I'm seeing is that, obviously this entire basin would be the liquid oxygen tank, and instead of pulling your fuel out of the liquid oxygen tank, they're probably pulling it out of this internal tank right here. So your oxygen, most likely, I'm guessing, your liquid oxygen is pouring in from the sides. I could be completely wrong. But you're filling up this internal tank so that when this remains filled, so that when you flip over to do your boost back, you're not losing everything out of the top right here, and you have a full tank at the bottom. It's like a header tank essentially.
It is a LOX header tank. It's just not in the head of the vehicle in that sense. But those 3 or 4 holes that are the smaller ones, those will be your main valves for opening and controlling the flow of the LOX. So you want to get rid of all of the gaseous oxygen in there, so the GOX. And so you open up the valves when you're fueling it up, and all of the liquid oxygen just kind of starts shooting out the sides, and then you close it up, and it's all pneumatics. And then when you go to do your landing burn, you start it up, you will have to open up those 4 ports to let air in, because otherwise you will crush this inner tank. But the thing is, you want just as much of the pressure to go into those parts, and you might even see a particular one go from the side, go for a what's it called, autogenous pressurization. So you might see some autogenous pressurization lines go directly into this. So either you're opening it up to the main tanks, and that is if your main tanks even have fuel to begin with. Otherwise, this is all the fuel you pretty much have left, and you've emptied out everything else of your main tanks for the liquid oxygen. So there's 2 ways you can go about it. Starship pretty much lands on empty main tanks. the header tanks are all that's left to land on.
There's actually a really good render by Chameleon Circuit. I don't know if you want to pull it up. It's in our. It shows you exactly what you're describing, I think, and it's based on all the current speculation. And while you pull it up, there's a question about that HPU unit we can see the top of. Is that piece on the top there? Is that new on top of that HPU? Those
Oh
they look like
man,
dynamite sticks to me.
I think that people are doing flyovers over Starbase right
Yes.
now. The Inspiration 4 crew, I'm guessing, or the NASA, not Inspiration 4 crew, the NASA
Well, it had the
HLS
Inspiration
team.
4 logo.
Is that
Say it again?
It did?
I think so. I'm looking at the Cooperheim. Let's see. Well, it has a logo similar to the Inspiration 4. I might be mistaken. It's a little blurry. It's a little bit blurry. Nick also posted
I
it.
would want to try again and try and subscreen it, but I definitely don't have Jessica's permission in order to do that. Yeah, this is why I try and pretend that nothing's happening in real life at Starbase, because there's always something happening. And who knows, we're probably going to get some stacks here soon. We were trying to pull up the video that we were looking at. So
there's just an image if you wanted to show that. It's in our, that shows a rendering of what this individual, Chameleon Circuit, believes is what you guys are talking about. And then there was also the question about what those horizontal looking things are above the HPU.
I see a police box in orbit. That doesn't really seem
No,
like
it's
the right thing.
the image above that tweet. So that's the
Okay,
artist,
cool.
Chameleon
I was about to
Circuit.
say, what is that?
Chameleon CIR is the one who made a render that I think Indian Star is the one is pointing out.
Correct. Thanks, Thomas.
So Max Q is the one who posted the image.
Correct.
There you go.
That's it.
So that looks pretty close. I do not like this design, honestly, because you're putting your header tank with a downcomer inside, so your dry mass is gone up with this design. I'd rather have the header tank against the wall, and yeah, you have some interesting weight imbalances there, but it's better to have a higher fuel ratio and low dry mass than the other way around. But here's kind of another kicker. So you see the center of this, you've got the pipe going directly up. There is no methane header tank because of that pipe. That pipe is so long, it basically is a tank. It's just open on one end. And then the other end goes to the Raptors. So that big main tank or pipe would be for the downcomer is the header tank for methane. So it's a very unusual way of looking at it, but that's the best way you can describe it.
It looks pretty accurate as far as everything that I've seen on the ground. I would not be surprised if that's exactly what it ends up looking like, honestly.
I do like Chameleon Circuit because he does what I do. He models directly off of multiple pieces of photos.
Like real things instead of just guessing.
Yes. So he's probably pretty accurate on the size of scale of everything else there too, which I love that element to this. I think the one other thing is how tall is the actual LOX header tank, and is this one basically going to have it's just the start for the 33 engines, and then you switch back to the main tank, or is it the other style? Because that's the one thing that really, if you're doing just a start tank for the LOX header, you're switching between the two different systems, and so you'll have to have a valve for each system in order to switch between the fuel ingestion for LOX from the header tank or from the main system, and you always have to have that. But yeah, that's a really cool piece. Let's go at some more photos, and then we can take some questions here. Looks like a 4-ring barrel.
I think that's a 5-ring.
5? Yeah, it might be. It's a tall building in front of it.
Yes. Would that make it a nose cone section? Or
A nose cone barrel would always be 5. Yeah.
Okay. I think we have a donation from Jim Cavett. The photos in this extended info stream is just awesome. Thank you, Jim. This is our standard length. We do exactly 2 hours and 59 minutes every Saturday at noon. So, we like to speak in Starbase time. So if you guys ever hear us give a timeout, it's because we live in Starbase time. So noon every single day, every single week on Saturday, you can expect to see some streams from us. So we appreciate you being here with us, Jim, and I'm glad you guys are really enjoying this content because it's a lot of fun for us to like put it on for you. So continuing on, there's a lot of cool things. Wow.
So you can see the UGR TV was removed, or UGRT. So University, Texas, Rio Grande Valley. The state still owns it, and I think they still own it, but pretty much SpaceX, I think at this point, has taken up the entire lease. So they are leasing it from the state.
Oh man. So no more university involvement or what?
At least at this building, I don't think so. I think they do have a lot of other things to offer, though. Like they've got so much going on that's like, yeah, you want to be an intern for us? Sure, go ahead and sign up here. And there's plenty more that the university system is going to be working with.
A fun fact: that was the first building at Starbase, a Stargate building. Stargate building.
Yeah, permanent structures. Yeah, everything else was very temporary. Yeah, they've got some scaffolding up in there. That's cool. I've never seen that.
Yeah, I've never noticed it either. I was wondering if this is temporary or if it almost looks like it slides across, but I don't think it does.
I think you skipped over the photos. I spotted the Booster 7 grid fins, all 4 of them. They're right next to the ground fabrication building. The aerial photos.
Oh, I did.
I mean, you don't have to show them. Just
I did skip
important to
over
know.
those. The reason I think the reason I didn't focus on them is because you post them. I should show them. I'll get them queued up here so I can show them in a little bit because we definitely want to get those shown for sure because that is a crucial part of getting this booster stacked.
Ullage thrusters, yay! Those are fun.
I think there's a third one in the middle here. I've never been able to. Okay, never been able to get a good view on it. The third one. Keep tucking this thing into the side of the Highbay. The crazy part is the amount of space that they have to tuck vehicles in is even bigger in the Widebay. We could potentially never.
You could have a booster pop out of nowhere. And
You'll never know
idea.
where what its current like stacking situation is. All of a sudden, like booster 9 just rolls out, and you're like, what?
You'll know that they've got the thrust puck, the common dome, the top dome. They're in there somewhere, but you don't know if it's stacked or not. And then a week later, the whole thing comes out, and you're realizing, oh my gosh, I missed everything.
That's exactly what they're going to do. I'm pretty sure you could assemble potentially 4 boosters at a time in there. Man, I love the way that this road has changed. I'm so excited to go out there soon. I'm not going to tell you guys when, but I'll be out there soon. The fact that they're actually taking care of this road again is nice. Or not again.
It still looks pretty bumpy, though.
Yeah, it's a little graded.
We were talking about that, me and Thomas, a couple of days ago about that road. And
Did you think it was bumpy when you were driving on it?
I mean, it's not bumpy, but like Thomas said, from from this perspective, you can kind of see how uneven it is, right, Thomas?
Yeah, you can see where water will want to pool up and stuff, and that's not great, but it's better than it was by leaps and bounds.
One thing you have to consider is that anytime in Texas that you see these, usually these, I don't know what you want to call them, the reflective panels sticking up, they're not going to leave them like that. They're probably going to build this up and put another final layer on top of all this. So this is just the first layer before they finalize everything at the same time. They'll probably do the whole thing in probably like 3 days. So this is just the first layer, and the final layer will be probably another inch or 2 higher, and it'll all be graded even. Most likely.
This is currently, I believe, the 3rd layer from what we've seen. They have poured at least 3 layers in places.
Right.
So you're saying a fourth layer, which, wow, that'd be kind of neat and a lot smoother.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at this you won't see this kind of theme on a normal road. This is not a final layer.
Yeah, they're just temporary lane markings, but I've seen it go both ways, where they will paint over the lane markings that are temporary. I've also seen them do it where they, as you said, pour over another layer of asphalt on top.
Yeah, I mean, and one of the good reasons to leave this the way it is so that if truckers cross over the line, they get the rumble strip essentially. But it's ideally not necessary. It's kind of a development and process. We'll see how that one ends up turning out.
So, did you ever talk about go back to the Starship real quick? So this is one of those things where we've talked about it in Rocket Talks, but I'm not sure if you have talked about this before. Those guys right there, basically, they're, from what I understand, based off of the way that the device works. There's a release mechanism at the top and the bottom to release the object that's covered in a black cloth, but it's an orange object. The orange objects look a lot like what you see in a black box as far as the color. So in essence, it would be some sort of data recorder. So in-flight data recorder that either is being dropped off in the Gulf or at the end of the trip, and it would basically be a way of capturing raw data that you are not able to get downstream through radio communications. This will help with that. So if Starlink or any other system is not available, this will be perfect for finding out what went wrong, what went good. Just find all that information out in raw form, because one thing you don't have is a good steady connection that's high bandwidth. Even with Starlink, you're going to have some problems, especially during reentry. You're going to have some attenuation of the signals there. So this would be equivalent of like an EPIRB, probably goes in the water, broadcasts and says, hey, I'm in the water, here's my coordinates, come find me, and it's bright and orange and floats, and they should be able to find it pretty quick. It just takes some time to get to it. But yeah, that's what I highly suspect these are for. They did add an arrow cover up at the top.
Just to add on to what you're saying, this would be your contingency for the blackout period, right? Where you lose comms on your reentry.
Well, actually, any point. So let's say after they do a quick disconnect from the staging of the booster, you might want to give away all of your data because they might have connections to the booster as well. Or also, if you have a in-flight abort, you want to find out what happened on the ship side, and so these will come off very easily. So these could also be an emergency ejection. It ejects it when it blows up. There's all sorts of planning stages that this would allow for.
Yeah. How many times do you lose data before you're like, I gotta eject it?
We talked about backups. This is the backup. Yesterday we were talking about it for hours.
The moment my computer receives less than the required voltage, the hard drive ejects out of my window and parachutes down to the ground.
But anyways, yeah, it's what I think. That's what that is.
You're probably
it makes
right,
sense.
honestly.
I mean, they're probably adding a bit more. Maybe it doesn't have an EPIRB to it. Maybe it's just like it splashes down in the Pacific. But
things are about to get really cool right here in these pictures, Thomas. I don't know if you've seen these yet.
I'll go back one and zoom in on the stabilization arms on the QD. There's something really special in this image to the right. Do you see that bright light? That's infrared. So they have got the cameras active for the stabilization arms on the chopsticks here.
1, 2, 3 cameras, but only this one's active.
Well, at least that one's active. We can see because we're looking down the camera. The other ones we don't see because, well, they're either not active or we're not looking straight down like this one.
Crazy. I think a lot of interesting other things that are happening here. Some that I've been waiting for a while, and we're gonna get some close-ups here soon. When I watch rover cam on Lab Padre, I always see people up in these boom lifts. They're either working on welding the inside or outside of these panels on, They've been adding all of these panels to bridge the umbrella, the canopy that goes on top of the launch mount. So they shave down both sides and then they weld it after. They haven't even started welding. They're just tacking them on. They're tacking every single one of them down, and then they'll probably spend, in my opinion, a week or two welding them. And after that, ideally, they'll put a large panel over the entire outside of it so that they're completely enclosing all of this. Hopefully, we will see if that happens. But there's also some interesting things going on down here, which I've been waiting to see because there's always been these conduits that weren't connected to anything. There's another one on the other side. And I was wondering if they were just like for future things or they just did not finish. Wow.
You just skipped over it, what you were talking
No,
about.
I didn't. We're gonna get to it, but I love this view. Mauricio, when I go down there, I'm gonna call you so I can stand over your shoulder and watch you take these pictures. If you don't mind.
Sure.
He's like, sure.
Sure.
Just don't breathe in my ear. So one thing that we were kind of what were you saying?
I mean, I'll invite you for a flyover. You can hop in the back seat.
All right, I'll DM you what
We do
days
that.
I'm going, but I may have to be able to bring a guest. That's the only way it's gonna work.
All right.
Yeah.
I think
Talk to
we
you-
might
talk
be
to you
limited by only one additional person just because not sure about the extra weight about reaching the 11,000 feet.
Would it
You
me
know,
and the extra person are combined to be one person in weight?
well, I mean, I think I've done it with one extra person. That was Felix. But I think Felix weighs about, Felix
300
weighs
pounds?
about 150 pounds.
Dang, definitely lighter
Um,
than me.
Yeah, you won't get off the ground with me on it. 6'5".
Yeah, it might be a little bit tight back there in the back seat.
It's like you better have an emergency runaway. You crack me up, Thomas. So one thing that I kind of pointed out earlier in the week about earlier today about some of the tests that they were doing. So this wall back here, okay, not the best view, but the tank farm, all the pipes go along the berm and underneath, and they come back up, and then all of the pressurization and fueling and detanking lines, bleed valves that are used for the ship are all connected to the QD on the ship, coming straight out of the ground. So you can see like a hard pipe coming out here, hard pipe right here, hard pipe right here. So this is the main, I don't know which one's which. This is probably LOX, this is probably methane. And those are the only two flex hoses that aren't connected right now. So like I was saying earlier, I think what they did, was that today or yesterday? They did a test of the pre-pressurization part of the Starship. And so if you were listening to Rover 2, all you heard was hissing all night long. Until the test ended. It was just sound of probably the valve, one of these two valves on the Starship just being open the entire time as they were pumping up gas into it to verify this connection. So the next time they test it, ideally this flex hose will be attached and they will begin to load propant into the bottom of the Starship. So they'll load a little bit into the bottom, they'll load a little bit into the methane tank, and then the next day they'll fully fill the entire thing and do an entire detank process. And then ideally they'll do the same thing on the launch mount. And in my opinion, they need to do this with every single test stand that they have. So every transport stand is also a test stand. So they have to commission every single test stand if they put a quick disconnect on it. And this is the process of them commissioning a test stand. That's why it's connected this way. That's why they're doing it stage by stage. If I'm wrong on this, I think this is all speculation, and the only way we're gonna know is if either one of these workers decides to lose their job by coming on here to tell us what's happening, or if Elon Musk decides to show up next week and tell us a little bit more about the process. And if that's the case, Elon, you got to let us know by Thursday, or else we're not going to have time to book you in. It's going to be a busy week next week. So, continuing on, Thomas, was there any other things in here that you wanted to?
I mean, we could talk about anything, but we're running out of time here. So, do we want to jump over to questions soon?
Yeah, I just want to show one thing on the ground over here coming up. There's a few really awesome shots that Mauricio got. Oh wow! So this is the tank that they use to. Never mind. I'm not going to define this one because we're really not sure. But it does have what we believe is a purge valve slash what do you call them, Thomas? The flare, methane flare.
This is not really a flare stack, because a flare stack would be an igniter
Yeah.
system. This is just a vent. Really, it's a methane vent.
Flame arrestor?
That's not a flame arrestor. If you zoom in, it looks like it's pretty much just pipe. So what you're seeing is you have got a pipe on a pipe, and that's a clamped mechanism with bolts. It's
This
the
also
top.
looks like a perforated screen that you would just vent methane
No,
out and purge it out the top.
it doesn't appear to be a perforated screen. So the actual vent is just above that. You're just looking at two different attachments here, and so it's basically just bolted on.
Rob Shaw asked me, "Is GB getting enough sun?" Rob Shaw, the sun is out right now in Chicago. I am gonna get to enjoy it in exactly 8 minutes. So thank you for reminding me that I have that to look forward to, because it's rare that the sun comes out here, which is why I am going to be doing some traveling soon. So thank you, Rob. Rob has been one of my favorite question askers from the very beginning. He always likes to, I like that Rob feels comfortable enough to say the things that he says to me, because it means that we're all becoming team space and becoming, comfortable with each other and all that stuff. And I really appreciate that. I really like seeing all of the familiar faces in here, the returning people, the new people. The fact that we finally crossed over 500 likes, just the amount of people that have been in here the whole time. It's really awesome. I mean, we've this has primarily been a Discord thing for us. I will go ahead and say that Thomas was doing that long before I was. Now we're trying to move on to other things, so it's really, really nice to get that support from all you guys. And as much as you guys support us here on RGV, just know that we're Team Space commentators as well too. So you're probably going to see us doing commentary other places here soon. Who knows? This is my favorite part coming up. Thomas, have you seen these pictures yet?
Go back one, because we do actually have a question here.
Okay.
That I'd like to be able to answer from Paul Shields. He asks, how does a flame arrestor work? Go back another picture here to the table. There you go. This is a flame arrestor. This is what they're using for the booster system to basically prevent flames from transferring through. There is a, I think it's kind of some, what is it called? In a way, I think it looks like a mesh on the inside with several of these pieces. So
Are you thinking about a catalytic converter?
No, but I'm thinking of a mesh system, because that's what was described to me as far as these flame arrestors. So that would be the flame arrestor, and I think Paul may have been talking about the other one with a screen on it, which this one would be the actual one with the screen, which would be the flame arrestor for the booster. There's a couple other different styles of flame arrestors you can look at. There is also one that's it's made by Tesla, like the original Tesla, Nikola Tesla. That was one style, but yeah, just wanted to go over that real quick.
Yeah, so these things actually come out onto the other side of the tank farm. And I don't know if I'm going to find them right now, but I'm going to keep going to the places that we're trying to get to. Wow.
So that's the Starship QD. I think Grandpa Joe likes to call this the face hugger. I think the squid is about right as well. But
Yeah, I think so. And I just wanted to comment on one thing. I saw somebody said 3 hours for 30 minutes worth of content. You're probably right. One thing that I think I struggled with for a long time, and that I think a lot of other people do, is that you watch some videos and you're like, oh wow, that looks cool, but like you have no idea what it is. You know what I mean? And you just go watch videos every single day that you think look cool, but you still, for that entire year, have no idea what you were seeing. And this is where all that changes, where you actually get to see the things that you were seeing that you thought looked cool, but now you know what they do. So you can't really do that in 3 hours, or sorry, in 30 minutes. It kind of takes a little bit longer. So I'm glad that you guys all stick here to actually learn some stuff instead of just see cool pictures. And you guys are the real ones. So thank you.
But
I
we
think
want
this
to
is
go a bit more on to anything else, or
Oh yeah. There was one more thing. Sorry, because we only have 2 minutes, and I need to get there. This is wild. I can't believe. So Mauricio did another photography set like pretty much 2 days before this, right, Mauricio?
No, this set was done the same day as the flyover. Oh,
No. I
yeah,
mean
you're
the
talking about.
other ground one.
Oh yeah, so the whole 20 days without a flyover, I was going out there every other day to get photos.
Hey, can somebody make sure on Rovercam that this guy isn't still sitting here waiting to get down? I just want to make sure he's good, like he's not still waiting because he's locked in. So just make sure that guy got out there. One thing that I want to show real quick. This is what the valves look on the ground that are coming out of the tank farm. And I'm going to stop zooming out so much. But you can see there are 1, 2, 3 levels of scaffolding that they're going to set up right here. And with the way that the rebar is coming out of the ground, I don't know. My crow says that we're going to get a really large wall here. And this is, my comfortable spot to end this at, because I really was waiting to just see this from the ground. I had to like verify it from the ground, and I'm glad that Mauricio did the ground pictures in order for us to like see this. But to me, this scaffolding getting set up in front of this tank farm is a major deal. Major. So be on the lookout for what they end up doing with this, because it's very, very critical to the entire operation, in my opinion. And with that, I don't know if is Indian Star still here? Maybe
Yep,
no.
I'm here. No,
Hi.
I'm here. Been here. Hi.
Cool. Did you want to do our ending credits, and just to thank all of the mods and everything?
Sure, we actually have credits at the end on the outro, so whenever we play that, that's where those credits will be. But we did want to thank everybody who's watching. We want to thank Mauricio for all of his time, his efforts in getting us these photos. We want to thank you, GB, and Thomas. Thomas, thank you so much for joining us.
yeah, thank you for
We
having me.
want to thank everybody. But yeah, the credits are at the end if you want to just finish up with these things, or I can ask you some questions.
Yeah,
We
if we have
wanted
any
to.
remaining questions,
We have lots of questions.
let's do it really quickly, as fast as possible.
I'll just read off a couple. I don't know that we have time for lots of them, but definitely going to try. There's a question from Don Burlin. Sorry, Don. At the very, he's asking. There looks to be pilings that are very near the road at every corner of property. He's wondering why.
Of which property?
Sanchez. He says that there are pilings that are near road at very corner of property, and he's wondering what it is.
Okay.
Sanchez.
So I think that's like birch, the pilings, if he's talking about those that go along in the mud flats. So that's basically where the easement with the county ends. So they have all those chained up along different parts of Highway 4 as well. I believe that's the one he's talking about. If it's not, if there's other pylons, I'm not sure what he's talking about then. Especially at Sanchez.
pull them up right here and see if this is what he's talking about.
Don't see them yet if you pulled them up.
No, it's a bit of a struggle right here because I wasn't prepared for that. So there we go. Is it in this image? Can you see this, Thomas?
Yeah, no, it's not in this image. It would be above it, is where you see those pylons. At least that's what I'm thinking. If what Don is saying is correct, so it'd probably be the one that is. Oh, it's clipped off on this one too, at that very corner up the top.
We don't have pictures of that corner right now, honestly.
Yeah,
Like
Iron Man is standing there fighting.
Because that was the one. We don't have that corner in this flyover. I would need to see a ground picture, I guess, of it. I'm not sure what he means.
But yeah, Iron Man is standing in the corner fighting the Hulk, and we have no clue. But yeah, we do have other images with that corner in it, but it would probably be from a previous flyover.
Last week, yeah.
We
Yeah.
also have another question from Chrome
Yeah.
Kiwi. He's asking, the lower chopstick cameras, IR cameras, cables, look fixed with no slack, and so only the pin can telescope downward. Would that be right?
Yeah, the pin would telescope down, so it's either doing a worm drive, so it's just basically a gear, mechanical gear to do that, or it's a hydraulic system internal. So either way, they would be internal to be able to move up and down, and it's basically like a trailer hitch is the little knob that's all connected to, and that goes into the Starship or the booster on the stabilization points. So on the booster, you can see it as just kind of two welds. And then this little piece of metal, and it's just really an odd placement. There's nothing else in that region, but it's probably about 4 rings down. No, I'm sorry, about 6 rings down from the top of the booster or more. It's pretty far down there. But anyways, yeah, the telescoping mechanism is pretty much, I believe, separate from the cameras, because it's basically a piece of metal. It's a square metal tubing inside of another piece of square metal tubing. It's just smaller.
Yeah,
Great.
and one thing I wanted to say, a lot of people will ask questions that we may not get to, and while we may not be able to address them today, we're working on that in the future. I don't know if he's here right now, but EJSA has given us a lot of motivation as far as like other things we can do with this. So who knows? Maybe in the future we might end this and then hop on Twitch right after so that people can, ask us questions or continue to ask us questions without continuing on the mainstream, or hop on Twitter Spaces, something. So we do pay attention to everything you guys say. We listen to all of the critiques and things that you guys want to see in the future, how we can improve. So I appreciate all your guys' feedback. If there's anything that we did not get to, please let us know in the comments, because I will either address it during the week all at once, all of the outlasting questions that we had, or we'll start the next show with those questions. So, we don't want to leave you guys hanging, and also consider the fact that the questions that you have are possibly things that we already are planning to talk about, but we're choosing not to yet because we're waiting for a little bit more information to arise. So, yeah, again, thank you guys for being here. Thank you, Thomas, for being a great co-host. Thank you, Mauricio, for taking all these pictures in order for us to even talk about them. Thank you, Indian Star, for facilitating all of this stuff in the background, as well as all of the mods, the YouTube mods, and the Discord mods. Would not be able to do without you guys. And above all, thank you for everybody who's supporting, as far as just liking the stream. If you guys haven't done that, please do so. Like the stream, subscribe, become a member. Everybody who's a member on Patreon or Discord, the YouTube definitely helps Mauricio continue to do flyovers, and also increases the frequency of him being able to do flyovers. So, more flyovers equals more flyover reviews. So if you guys want to see this stuff more often and get, more frequent updates, then the best way to make that happen is by contributing to the channel. So, we want to thank everybody who's currently doing that. And I don't know, Mauricio, did you have anything you wanted to add on to that?
Yes, we're gonna start adding for those that showed up late to the stream, or you don't feel like going back, or you can't find a particular subject, we're gonna start adding timestamps to these videos. That way you can just tune in and skip over the parts that you want to hear, about. And another thing is, also thanks to everybody that donated and became members. And if you can't donate, it's not a problem. I do appreciate the subscribers, and if you like this video, that would help us out a lot. And if you can set the notification to what is that called? The post notification, so that they can
You're
get
just
the
turning on the alerts. It's
right.
it's funny because it's different in every single social media platform. So I think on Twitter it's alerts, and here it's just subscribing, and then you get the alerts immediately.
There's also the bell. That's the
Yeah, the bell.
That's the one.
Right, that's what I meant. Yeah, that the bell, and that way you can help us out with the next stream, so we can have more people on here. And share the video if you don't. With somebody, I know there's a lot of people out there that don't even know that we exist. And they would definitely, I assume they would appreciate this type of content. And that's pretty much it from my end. I do have a flyover already scheduled just now. So I got back, the pilot just got back with me, and we're scheduled for Wednesday for now. And these donations are going to help me out a lot with possibly doing another flyover next week. So it could be a 2 flyover week, just because I'm not sure when the stack is going to happen. So if the stack doesn't happen on Wednesday, then that means that I'm gonna have to schedule another flyover to get that stack, the full stack.
Basically, you're saying you're going to try and do one Wednesday, but if it doesn't work, then you're just going to do another one after, like on the next day.
It depends. It depends. So I'm gonna do one on Wednesday. I'm gonna do one already scheduled. If the weather is pretty good out there, we'll do it Wednesday. If not, I'll reschedule and do it another day. But there might be a possibility of doing 2 flyovers next week. So
Yeah, I
there's a
mean,
slight possibility of that.
if Elon is trying to come on our show and answer some questions, I think we should set the condition being on, he lets us know when that full stack is going to be, or else, I
Right.
don't know.
And
We
that's
need
pretty
that
much it
inside
for
info,
me.
Elon.
Anybody else?
Thomas?
Yeah.
Hi. Just kidding. Yeah, so I guess we'll wrap it up there. Thank you guys for joining us. Like I said, we're live every single Saturday at noon. We may or may not do midweek episodes, but always be on the lookout for the Saturday episodes at noon. We are going to try and add some other features in here so that in the event that Astra doesn't launch or something like that, in the middle of our stream, we're able to accommodate for that so that people don't feel the need to leave. Obviously, that's going to take us getting permission from those people in order to do so. However, we're thinking about all the things that are conducive for you guys spending your time with us on Saturday, and we appreciate you guys being here. So with that being said, I think we'll go ahead and sign off.